maybe welcome back. Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados right here on Think Critical Patreon. Everybody's Saturday morning delight is here. We're missing some people. New York Comic Con is in full swing. We got a special message that I'll play here in a few moments for you. Everybody having a good time. But we've got returning to the channel, Nandor Fox Shaffer. Apparently, I've been screwing up your name the whole time. You never mentioned it. What happened?
It's okay, Wes. Like I said, you know,
growing up in Missouri, that says Nandor.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I remember when I was in college and I was in one of my classes, and you know, they have everyone introduce themselves, or they have the teacher, the professor, you know, introducing all the students. And I was introduced. Not only did they get my first name wrong, they got my last name wrong because Shaffer is spelled in so many different ways. So it was hello to Nandor Fox Shaffer, you know, and I was like, I don't know who that is, you know, like that's not me. But no, it's okay. It comes with the territory. And you know, it was only until What We Do in the Shadows where Nandor became you know, like it was out there. I've never seen a character have my name before in like mainstream media. So I got some representation now, so that's kind of cool.
I always thought that the main character in The Princess Bride had the same name as me, and then when I got older, I realized it was Westley instead of Wesley.
Ah,
fuck
broken
that
heart.
Loser doesn't know how to pronounce Wesley correctly. Wesley.
A silent T. A silent T.
Absolutely. When I was living in the UK, for some reason, my landlord kept calling me Wesley. I was like, this is very strange. Where is this T coming from? But maybe that's how they do it there. So you still got Manchild #3 going on Kickstarter?
I sure do. Yeah. So we have about like 10 days, 11 days left. And we're just shy of about $1,000. So we're definitely on our way. We're almost funded. We're like 76% funded. So we're getting there. But everyone, go check it out. We only have like 10 days left, and get your copy of Manchild #3. You can get issues 1 and 2. You can get a PDF bundle if you live overseas, or if you don't want to pay international shipping. We also have the physical books and different variant covers. We have a Steve Epting variant cover and a gatefold cover as well. So there's a lot of cool options there.
So I've heard that Manchild #2 is basically Problem Child mixed with He-Man, and you got Manchild.
yeah, no. It's with this series, I always wanted to kind of look at that term, that phrase, and it's mostly used in a derogatory sense or insult. And I kind of wanted to take it back and embrace it, and embrace our inner child, right? And kind of look at comics, have it be a commentary on comic book fandom, kind of from the modern lens, through the modern lens. And it's a great series if you love classic superhero storytelling. I know a lot of us, are kind of starving for that, and we want that in the mainstream. And so if you're looking for that, there's a lot of great indie stuff out there, and Manchild's one of those books that I feel like can kind of scratch that itch.
Very nice. And if you're interested and you haven't supported Manchild #3 yet, there's a link in the video description, and you got about 10 days to make your final decision, and hopefully you decide to go and back Nandor. Or Nandor, I'm sorry. He's a good fella. He's from my neck of the woods, from Columbia, Missouri. Now, last time you were on here, Missouri had a really big game against Texas A&M, and you jinxed it by appearing on the show, and they got destroyed.
I did. I felt so bad. I was keeping up with the game, and then of course it was hopping here in Columbia. A lot of folks were disappointed, and I was also really sad that the Royals didn't make it. I was like waiting for them too. So they made it to the playoffs, but we weren't successful. But
would have preferred they slapped the shit out of the Yankees.
Who doesn't?
But it looks like it's going to be Yankees Dodgers, so nobody be more excited than Yule and probably HH and the boys at Sigma Comics. So definitely check that one out. I saw someone asking where Perch was. Perch was actually supposed to be joining us today. but something came up. It sounds like he will be joining us next weekend, so you can look forward to that.
Cool.
But in the meantime, we're going to have an awesome time without him. Who needs Perch to have a good time when you've got MVP, the best-looking comic book critic in all of YouTube's?
Oh my goodness, that is a large claim. Well, thank you, Wes. I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, no, I'm excited to be back here. It's been a while because we've been trying to get our schedules, connected, and so I'm really thankful to finally have a weekend where I'm available. But yeah, man, no, I'm excited. I did in fact read this newest Wonder Woman issue, and man, it's Tom King. I'll tell you that much. So, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to talking about it today, and yeah, I'm excited. So,
how are your other hobbies going? How's Warhammer 4K? Is it been destroyed?
It's getting there. The more mainstream it goes, the more people that don't understand it like to try and think that they do, or like to try and start to find things that they don't like about it and then complain about those things, and then want the hobby to change because they, found it through maybe Space Marine 2, which is the new video game that's really hot right now. But you've got people who have been in the hobby for, decades now. And yeah, it's been pretty interesting. But for the most part, I think the barrier to entry into the hobby is pretty high, just because of how much lore there is and how many different aspects of the hobby there are. But
the figurines are expensive.
Oh my gosh. And Games Workshop knows that they're the hottest ones in the game right now, so they can price their models up as much as they want to. And plus, if you go into a Games Workshop, if you want to play the tabletop game, you can only play with Games Workshop models. You can't 3D print your models and play it in a Games Workshop game.
Boo.
Yeah. So, but I still love the game. The 10th edition is fantastic. I really love the models. I still enjoy painting. I do it every Sunday morning with X-Ray Girl and Carolyn, Stephanie from My Nerdy Home. And it's been a blast to get back into Warhammer and the figurines and stuff like that. So
do you prefer figurines over dolls?
Correct. Now,
I don't want to use the wrong terminology.
If you were to ask that one girl on Twitter or TikTok or whatever, and she was like, the most unattractive male hobbies ever, and the top one was video games, and then the next one was like collecting figures, I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm out.
It's over.
Yeah, until she looks at you, sir. Until she looks at you, and then she's like, well, maybe I can make an exception.
Maybe this one's. No.
I don't know. I knew a guy whose hobby was a taxidermy. I'm like, that shit's pretty brutal right there. It's got to be worse than video games, right?
I would assume dead animals. So. Yeah, but got a bunch of squirrels in his house, and you're like, what is that?
Next thing you know, it's just like animal heads all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know.
Might be like a morbid fascination, though. I could see that.
It's the same chicks those are the chicks that love fucking real true crime podcasts.
Oh yeah,
tarot cards.
You'll have all those chicks all up on your shit.
Should we do our own list of the worst female hobbies? We can start with tarot cards. We can throw not astrology,
astronomy,
but the astronomy. Yeah,
the Star Wars, bitching and moaning,
psychology, bitching and moaning,
making sandwiches, not making me a pot pie.
I love sandwiches. Anything else going on in the channel? What's going on the MVP side of the world?
Every Friday night, the boys and I do our Comic Shop Conversations live stream.
Dirty Mike and the boys?
Oh yeah, Dirty Mike and the boys. Having fun in the back of the car. No, it's been a blast to do those Friday night shows. Last night we went over the weekly comics, so we reviewed all the comics that came out this past week. We reviewed the Blue Beetle YA graphic novel, which was abysmal, and then we also talked about some stuff that's going on at New York Comic Con. There was another fight at Peach Momoko's booth this year. So we talked about that and what happened and how, this happened last year too. And so we're like, man, what's going on? But the Friday night shows are great. And then I also do Sunday mornings and Sunday evenings. And we talk about culture on the Sunday evening show. But yeah, so the channel has been great, and I'm really blessed to have such a great fan base, and just guys who come on the panel and talk about some of the stuff that's going on in culture right now.
Very nice. What do you think Jim just got caught doing? Do you think he was on like a bad?
That was my alarm. No, I have to make my alarm ending up like
sounded like it.
crazy.
Yeah. It sounded like
I figured you were
DEFCON
getting,
4 going on.
you were in a submarine.
I was actually like sexy Warhammer figure. Oh no.
Ooh.
No. I was thinking about the lore though. I want to know if Max
Jim,
agrees. Like Philip Kenny Johnson should probably do a Warhammer comic. I think he.
Jimmy, I got your song. I'm addicted to your plastic crack.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe that's what it was. I was doing a song and it told me that it was a little too dirty. Maybe. But no. Now that was my alarm.
Very nice. We've also got Rev Sully here, the only man that combines making sandwiches and comic books into one wholesome platform on the YouTubes.
I try, feed your head with your eyes or with your mouth, and make it good ingredients and may it be a quality time. May you always remember that sandwich.
I've heard that Sloppy Joes are making a comeback. Is this true?
I love Sloppy Joes. I get these burnt end, beef burnt end tips, from the butcher, and I let it stew in its sauce with peppers and onions, and then the sandwich is so sloppy. It's so sloppy. How sloppy is it? It is so sloppy. I have to fork and knife it. You have to bring a fucking knife.
You realize that's not a sandwich anymore, right?
Yeah.
Listen, an open-faced sandwich isn't eaten with your hands.
It's just true.
It isn't.
It's
no, an open-faced
sandwich adjacent. I see where Doc is coming from, but also its intention was to be eaten as a sandwich. It was to be picked up, kind of like that girl in the bar at last call.
Her intention is always to be picked up, sir.
Super Mastermind says if you put on a Kaiser roll, all your problems are solved.
Ooh, or you didn't properly toast the bun. You didn't have a piece of lettuce. A lettuce is a non-permeable membrane that does not allow the wetter ingredients to saturate your bun. There's an engineering principle behind assembling a sandwich.
Agree.
Thank you. Yeah. The lettuce has to go on the bottom bun. You know what I mean?
I am obviously very concerned about saturating my bun.
You should.
That's what I am too.
So you took and made Sloppy Joes pretentious, is what I'm hearing, Repsol.
I make them for both kind of people. I'm in the middle between both sides of the aisle, and I just want to feed them all.
But I didn't even realize Sloppy Joes went away. I assumed everybody still liked them. But apparently they went through a down period. And
they've been hibernating, I guess, culturally speaking.
That and Jello pudding pops.
Best served with tater tots, I feel.
Well, that's because of
you got to separate the artist from your dessert.
Yeah.
You go to hi Gideon. Oh my goodness, my buddy Gideon. You go scritch. That's it.
Tater tots are the most undervalued, underappreciated side item that you can get with any sandwich, in my opinion.
Yeah, indeed. I agree.
Just ask Napoleon Dynamite.
Get your own tots.
I haven't thought about that movie in a long time. So what's going on in your channel, Sully? You got anything cool people should know about?
I do a daily gratitude list Monday through Friday, first thing in the morning. I really do. I want to make some inspirational YouTube and pay it forward. A fellow YouTuber named Gary Beekler, you may know him as Nerdrotic. He suggested to me using gratitude and making a gratitude list. I have for the past 5 years, and it's had the best impact on my day-to-day life. I'm still the same person, but I have purpose. I have a better perspective now. And gratitude is that daily ingredient. So 5 o'clock in the morning, I say the Pledge of Allegiance at my subway stop because it's got a giant flag behind me. And I share my gratitude list. And that's how I start my day. Then on Sundays, I do the Super Sully live stream. We talk about the comic books that I picked up that week and read, and any kind of hijinks and sci-fi stuff too. And yeah.
Have you thought about putting out a hat or perhaps like a case for a guitar while you're doing this in the subway station? I think you can make some good money with that performance art.
You got to have your head on a swivel in Boston and the subway at 5 a.m. There's a huge unhoused population here. And seriously, I mean, they're out there and God bless them. And it's getting colder. Winter is coming. That's not just a quote. And these people are human, and I just like I won't give them $1 because that make you a mock, but just like give them your good hope and your good thoughts and prayers this winter. Namaste.
For a second, I thought you were going to talk about saying the Pledge of Allegiance at Subway. I was really going to be really
confused to my sandwich that's about to be shoved into my face.
Yeah,
and through the mayonnaise and mustard.
Toasted, untoasted,
for which it stands.
All right, Sully, what do you think about? Do you put the vinegar and oil on your Subway sandwich?
I don't eat at Subway. I make my own sandwiches, and then plus we have a deli where I work at my restaurant, at my eatery. So, I have unlimited access to sandwiches. Do
you put vinegar and oil on them? Because I always felt it was a step too far. It's too much.
Vinegar and oil have a certain place, and they were on the Italian sandwich, Italian cold cuts, hot peppers. A real Italian sandwich never gets mayonnaise. I love mayonnaise. I'm a maverick.
What if you mix the mayonnaise with the mustard and you just call it like
a Dijonnaise?
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, let us know in the chat, what is your favorite sandwich?
I think just lubricating your sandwich is a step too far. It's not necessary.
Oh, sauces on sandwiches are the best. Come on, Thousand Island.
I didn't say sauce. I said lubricate, which is what the oil and the vinegar do.
That's true, because you need that like little bit of wetness in there.
It go down my throat better.
This
is why you guys in Pittsburgh dip your entire sandwich in au jus.
No, we just have French fries on them.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
There you go.
What is the Pittsburgh
sandwich? The sandwich talk. Doc has taken a siesta from Mandy Brothers. We do have returning Jim from Weird Science. How you doing, Jim?
Hello. Great.
Were you in a full body cast? Is that why you missed a few weeks?
No, just had some issues. I actually had started about 6 months ago a gratitude video list. I still haven't done one. I haven't found anything to be happy about. So those are to come.
You're not happy about Sully's hat?
I'd be happy about that. I could do that. Plus, I end up. My kids used to like where we would have taco meat as a sloppy Joe, the sloppy Jose. We would have that a lot. They enjoyed.
You're talking about the Bell Burger. Remember when they used to have that at Taco Bell?
Those are pretty good.
Oh, that shit was great.
They just laugh when I call it the sloppy Jose. They love a little racism with their dinner.
Who doesn't?
That's always the best way to serve it up. But yeah. Hello.
What my son likes is he likes the walking taco. So I get like a little bag of the fake Doritos that we have here called Chippy. I make a little walking taco out of it, and then he thinks I'm the best dad in the world for a couple hours.
They get a little messy, those sometimes, but that's fine. But yeah,
that's why we keep it in the bag.
Well, that is true. That's why it's in the bag. I guess maybe I should keep it in the bag.
Yeah, that was what makes it a walking taco. Do you remember back in the day when you would go, to the baseball game or whatever, and you get a Frito pie?
No, I remember begging somebody for a ride home because my parents didn't come to the game to take me home. That's what I remember. And if they possibly went to get something afterwards, maybe I could, get a little in on the action. That's what I remember.
Nandor, is a Frito pie like a Missouri thing where you take the bag of Fritos and then you put chili and then you put cheese on top of it? Maybe a couple of jalapenos?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a Missouri thing, but it definitely sounds like a Midwest or Southern type of thing.
I don't know about Doc. So the person who introduced that to me was actually from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has that as well.
We've had the walking taco for.
No, I said Frito pie. It's completely different concept because you put real chili instead of taco meat on it.
Oh yeah. It's real chili. It's we still call them a walking taco though.
Mm.
There you go.
No, you've lost me.
Not the same.
Not the same. You didn't grow up with chowder.
There's a difference between a walking taco and a Frito pie, right? Am I crazy?
We didn't have that up here. We had chowder.
That's milk, like St. Louis chili or whatever.
Hot milk thickened with flour and some shellfish in there. Chowder. Have some chowder.
You guys aren't the ones that do the red chowder, right?
No, that's Manhattan clam chowder.
No, you don't want that.
Yankees suck.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
All right, Jim. Did you have a good comic book week?
That was okay. When
you finally read Green Lantern, you skipped all the good books.
Yeah, I read that. That was good. Yeah, I did skip the good books. And I did read Flash Gordon, which I really liked as well. So.
Flash Gordon
And
was
Prairie
absolutely
Gods.
fantastic this
I
week.
read a bunch that I didn't get to when we had our show, but yeah, it's pretty good. There's always some stinkers, but you know, the stinkers sometimes outshine the deal, as we'll be talking about today. But yeah, that was pretty good. There was some good things.
What else good is happening in your life? We'd like to hear this gratitude list that you've spoken of, Jim.
None. I'm still. I have number one, and it's blank still. I'm waiting.
Could be Space Ghost.
I'll put that. Maybe it could be
Frito pies.
Could be Frito pie. I do love Frito pie. St. Louis chili. All that nonsense.
Delicious.
With the spaghetti on it and stuff.
That's Cincinnati.
Or
That's
Ohio. Is
Ohio.
that Cincinnati? See,
Skyline
that's, to
chili.
me, I'm in Philadelphia. I don't know what the hell. That's all the same to me.
It's all the same. Yeah.
It's all the same. I'm like Cincinnati,
Man.
St. Louis, whatever.
If I ever run into Jim in person, I'm going to give him a Philly cheesesteak with like some
I
fucking
thought you were going to say a
mushrooms
gnocchi.
in there.
No, then it's not. That's the thing. I get an argument.
Exactly. I'm going to totally fuck it up and be like, oh,
But
it's
here's
all
the
the same
thing.
to me.
When people get upset about that and argue, the idea of adding anything on, it's still a cheesesteak. It's just not a Philly cheesesteak. People lose their. I have lost my mind in the past when you see like Philly cheesesteak pizza, and I'm like,
I'm going to put
"You
some Gruyere
peppers
cheese on
and
that son bitch
freaking
for you.
thing?" I'm like, what is this? A salad? The
Yeah.
hell? It's like Sully with his lettuce on a sandwich. If I wanted a salad, I'd order a salad.
It's a non-permeable membrane to support the wetter ingredients.
Also,
It's
Sully.
engineering.
Sully being
Also, it
the
adds a
only
crunch.
one
I
sandwich,
like the crunch.
food,
Yeah,
and
it's the crunch.
comics. You're there. You're the two non-sexiest things that the ladies like, I guess. But there you are.
But yeah, that's what makes America one of the great sandwich cultures is that we realize the stack means something. You don't just stack for the sake of stacking. You have to build it correctly or the bite's wrong. The flavor will be all off. Like you have to have, you know, if you got mayonnaise on there, it needs to be touching the tomato so the tomato juice gets into it. And they kind of mix a little bit.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm saying they're even talking in the deal. Philly cheesesteak pizza is great, but if it has anything but, you know, cheese and onions, then it's not a Philly cheesesteak pizza. It's just a cheesesteak pizza. But that's fine. They had a bunch of nonsense.
All right. Anything else going on you want to talk about, Jim?
No, just
How your
the
Eagles
regular
doing?
thing. They're doing okay, but I sense a lot of trouble. They really don't have a great personality, that team. They kind of seem miserable all the time. And I just, when it's a standard thing with Philadelphia, though, when you go and watch a game, you're expecting them to blow it. And if they, you know, eke it out, it's fine. But I don't have really good feelings for them.
Very nice.
And also
Last-
just the idea, I haven't really done any comic videos or anything like that. I haven't been able to do that, but I have been making songs. So if people want to go and check those out, but besides that, nothing.
All right. Last but not least, we do have Doc. Doc and I already recorded our review of Wolverine #2 as well, talking about Ultimate Wolverine, which we'll probably get to here today as well. And sounds like you had a busy week, Doc. You doing all
I
right?
did. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was all work stuff. But no, it was pretty good. Just stupid busy trying to prep for more work stuff next week, and yeah, didn't you know we reviewed some abysmal comics this week, and looking forward to talking to everybody today about how terrible the comic industry is.
Well, before that, we do need to give a special shout out to our latest Patreon backer, Charlie Reddick, aka Plasma Pulsar, the protector of Guildford, England. Welcome back to Think Critical Patreon. Really appreciate the support, brother. If you're interested in supporting us on Think Critical Patreon, there's a link in the video description. Really appreciate that. We also have a special little message here. What is this?
Greetings from New York Comic Con. I know that we can't be on the show today, Drew and I, but we're here with HH, Sigma Comics. Here comes Calico. We're over here hanging out. We're having a good time. We just wanted to say to all of you, we're so glad that you follow us. We're so glad that everybody who's come to the show and said hello to us, and everybody, all the aficionados out there that are coming in. We've just had an absolute blast.
Unholy Nightmare. Here comes Calico. Kneel before Doomface. Get it? As soon as it comes out, you guys are gonna love it. This is real comics from real comic book folk. Okay, what's out there right now, Big Two, is it's idols, folks. It's idols. Read your Bibles. All right, this is the real deal right here. These are people who know comics. We're coming to you straight, in this case, from New York City, from the Big Apple. Wherever we come from, we're coming hard and we're coming for you. Here comes Calico, Kneel Before Doomface, Unholy Nightmare, and many, many more. Give us a shot. You're going to love us.
Go back. You can go back. All of the TCM Press stuff that we're doing right now. It's the Silent Knights Kickstarter is up, so go check that out. I'm sure Wes will throw a link in the description, and you can find all of the New York Comic Con exclusives right now up on kneelbeforedoomface.com. If you guys want to order them, you can't make it to the show, so go check it out. We're so thankful for each and every one of you.
TCM, Sigma Comics, baby. We're coming.
Boom!
That's
There we go. We got a
awesome.
special little message. Did you
That's
see that
so
shit
cool.
from HH? He had the
Mhm.
Statue of Liberty flexing. I like it.
I'm glad they were
I
there
believe-
where they were testing out that rocket engine in the background.
Well, it's the convention. Jeez. Hey, Sully, why doesn't Boston have any great landmarks like the Statue of Liberty? Why does
Dude,
New
we-
York get to have them all?
Bite your tongue. We got the Cheers bar.
Norm flexing? Like, what are you talking
We
about?
got Bunker Hill, where that's where the Battle of Bunker Hill was. And we got Paul Revere's ride. I actually live blocks away from. We have like pavements everywhere that have commemorations. Like this was like Richard Dawes. There were like 3 people on Paul Revere apparently didn't ride in Paul Revere's ride. He sent out 3 other people to on horses. So, Lexington, Concord, Medford, like right over the river. They didn't get the South Shore involved for some reason.
There you go. I'm still
There's
not
that.
sold. But I
You got
like the shirt.
Fenway.
USS Constitution, old Ironsides, it's still in commission. You know what I mean? It's the only wooden ship still in commission. It's a museum piece, but it's living history. It's wonderful. If you come to Boston, check it out.
Very nice. Let's hear from the people. Calvin says, I hate Simu Liu. He is the authority now on all things Asian culture. If he was sent to China, I don't think the Canadian would last long. That was
It's-
weird.
Asian Simu Liu. Kind of the
Yeah.
same way that Greg Pak just became just the Asian guy.
No, he got upset because he felt like people that weren't Asian making boba tea was cultural appropriation. I was like, that's a pretty stupid stand.
Yeah, well, he's a pretty stupid person. So
There you go. Did not get that one. Galb says to gamers, don't watch that Tomb Raider anime on Netflix. It's written by a woman who wants a gay best friend, has daddy issues, and won't stop crying.
Haven't watched it.
Yeah,
I have
don't know.
exactly 0 interest in watching it.
I haven't watched Netflix since.
Games are
Cuties.
good.
Honestly, I mean,
Seriously,
like really, they did that Tomb Raider movie a couple of years ago that was really fucking bad. I mean,
Terrible.
it's another dead franchise. Okay, why bother?
There you go. Adam Frey says DC has 8 facsimile books in January. They finally figured out how to hit my wallet. Reprint the material that's not derivative garbage.
you nailed it. They're getting my money that way too. They're hitting me at $3.99 and $4.99, and sometimes even more. Heck, this they got the Crisis on Infinite Earths #8 facsimile is coming out, and that's the famous one of Superman holding the dead Supergirl, and they got it in foil. And so I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna fall for that, aren't I? I see that on my
You are.
shelf. I'm totally picking up that foil one just for my spinner rack. I mean, that's gonna you got a home on my spinner rack, kid.
And DC does do the best facsimile editions as well. Those are far higher in quality than Marvel.
Hmm.
So there you go.
Is that
Yeah.
something maybe you guys would be more privy to it, but like the facsimile editions, is that something that we've just seen kind of get published more and more over the last few years? Like I feel like I'm seeing them more and more than I ever used
Yeah.
to.
Yes.
I mean,
They used to just be reprints.
Right.
well,
Okay.
when they started with the facsimile editions, they were rare, and it was of only you'd have maybe 1 in a month, and they were every couple of months. So you probably have 4 to 6 per year, and they were all on key issues. You'd have X-Men 1, AF-15, giant-sized X-Men, stuff like that. Now they're getting into the very, very minor keys, like they did X-Men 129, which it has the first appearance of Emma Frost and I think Kitty Pryde. still a relatively minor key. And they not only that, but in addition to doing just the facsimile edition, which was what they originally did, it was just a full reprint of all the pages of the original, but with modern binding and modern paper. They started doing variants on them too, which was
oh man.
And they started doing, so you'd have the regular version, you'd have the foil version, you'd have at least one modern variant. So like a redraw, like an homage cover of it, but done by a modern artist. And then they'd have the foil of that as well. So now they're selling it 4 times. Not
and the
only
blank
that,
cover for your conventions too.
Selling covers now.
And they started they started reprinting the ones that they had already done with this new model.
Yeah. You do have the Batman Hush story starting in January. Will all be done in facsimile editions. So it'll be fun. Calp says, can you explain what a two-spirited person means? Because that Hawkeye was clearly written by someone with white guilt.
I can read it from the wiki, but I mean, what I know is like a two-spirit person is someone that from the indigenous Native American or First Nations people that have 2 spirits in their soul, both male and female. And so, I mean, they must have had their alphabet people too before Cortez and Columbus got here. So yeah, why not?
I think what people are having a difficult time with is that they're saying that Two-Spirit was part of that Native American culture, and then the newest activist group kind of took that and culturally appropriated it to be like, oh no, this is part of the LGBTQ thing now. This isn't just Native American. You can be now Two-Spirit and non-binary. But if you're Two-Spirit, that automatically makes you binary because you now have the masculine and feminine. I don't know. It's very there's a lot of nuance to it. We were trying to figure it out last night, but
well, Max, you're just really not wrapping your head around good old Orwellian doublespeak and doublethink.
Yes,
you know, once you're able to do that, you can accept anything they put out.
That's true.
I had a big problem with it
just
too.
get called.
Yeah, I had a big problem with the shitty writing. That's what I had a big problem with.
Another big.
That was my
too.
problem.
Thank you, Jim.
15 pages of murder.
Yeah.
Followed by I knew you were good all along, kid.
You passed the test.
There you go.
James Hannafin. Eddie well stoked that we have Jeremy Adams writing Aquaman. Absolutely.
Yes.
That's the best thing to come out of NYCC. So you're also a big Jeremy Adams fan, Nandor.
Oh yeah. No, I mean this is awesome. I'm a huge Aquaman fan. Like first
You're
and
the one.
foremost, you know. Yeah, I'm the only one, right? So I've been 3 years starved of any ongoing Aquaman title, and
longer than that, if you wanted good Aquaman, you had to go back to Kate Abbott.
Right. Yeah, and that's where I stopped after I think when Kelly Thompson came on. Yeah, I dropped
Kelly
the book.
Sudaconic.
Kelly Sudaconic. Yeah, so
one bad Kelly.
one of the
who
Kellys.
cares?
Kelly, maybe not the best name in comics, but yeah, I'm very excited for Jeremy Adams on Aquaman, and I love how it's we can get into this later, but it seems like he's kind of bringing back some of the magical aspects of like Aquaman's water abilities and things like that. So I think it's going to be really great. I'm excited. It seems like Jeremy Adams is kind of following, I don't know, maybe like the template that Jeff Johns kind of sets forward with his characters. He's doing it with Green Lantern. Now he's taking on Aquaman, and Jeff Johns, really brought Aquaman back to the forefront in the modern era of comics. So this is going to be great.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like they given we went from Flash to Green Lantern. Now we're giving him Aquaman. So it's like Jeremy Adams. They had this history of writing really good comic book animated adaptations. So it's like, hey, let's give the obvious stuff to the good writer.
Yeah, the problem was they weren't doing that at first. He only got Green
struggle.
Lantern because Mariko Tamaki bailed on it. He wasn't even going to get that, and they
What a
gave it
happy
to him.
accident.
That's right. She was supposed to write it, wasn't she?
Yeah,
Good call, man.
he was about done. He thought at DC, and then they ended up needing somebody for Green Lantern and gave it to him, and he just keeps doing well, no matter how they treat him. But I think they're starting to treat him a little better.
Apparently, he's going to have 2 series, and certainly started with Flash. Lade Kraber, if you're at New York Comic Con, go check out PCS Collectibles. My friend Ant, check out their Transformers wall diorama. Has Unicron, Death of Optimus, Rodimus, Prime.
I love.
Does anyone have good memories of Rodimus Prime?
I do. I
Oh,
love
gosh,
Rodimus.
of course you would. This is the story of the greatest hero in Transformers history for that guy.
Judd Nelson was wicked cool. I mean, he had just done the Breakfast Club, you know what I mean, from the hip. And now he was a hot rod. And you had Orson Welles and you had
Rowdy
Leonard Nimoy.
Roddy.
What a great movie. But then you had like Judd Nelson, and he was come on, he was cool. He was cooler than Michael J. Fox for like 10 minutes in the mid 80s. Yeah.
But he didn't even play Rodimus Prime.
In the movie he did.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
Hot Rod.
I don't think I've ever even heard that name before.
Rodimus
This is
Prime.
what happened, Jim. If you go watch Transformers the movie, and you should, because it
No,
made so many
I haven't
children
watched
cry,
1 second of
they
anything.
kill off Optimus
You got the
Prime, and then
Spoilers.
Rodimus Prime becomes the
You
leader. And then
Power.
about a year
Oh.
later, they realized everyone stopped watching Transformers because of it, and they brought
Mhm.
Optimus back
Oh.
because it was
Yes,
so.
well, now I know the
important.
story. I don't have to watch it.
You should watch it,
Thank you.
and you should watch the GI Joe movie. That one's even better.
Yeah, I've never watched. I've
introduction of
never watched
Cobra
any
Law.
of the Transformers stuff ever. I've never watched 1 second of any of it.
G.I.
good.
Joe movie introduces Sergeant Slaughter as a character in G.I. Joe. It's amazing.
And Duke's brother,
And Duke's brother, played by Don Johnson.
Don Johnson, Burgess Meredith, or is
Ooh, Globulus.
Globulus? Yeah,
Yeah.
good shit.
I don't know. Cobra Law was when the G.I. Joe jumped the shark with me. No, that's not an opinion. That's a statement.
Very nice. Galb says, I'm assuming that Diana is happy Steve is dead, so we can't get her pregnant since being straight is evil now, and she can't raise a kid since Tom King hates his own kids and wants them gone.
Well,
Oh, my
She has a
goodness.
kid though.
Yeah, that one's
Should we-
brutal.
She's not raising her. The kid's like the
Oh
guardian.
no,
of the
no, they're
sovereign.
she's raising her. That's what the next bunch of issues is going to be about. It's her sitting around while the Wonder Girls do shit. So he'll just use this as another shitty story beat or whatever. So
should we spoil that the last page of the book? Because
Yes.
I mean, okay. Yeah, for those of y'all who didn't read the issue, Wonder Woman creates a child on the sands of Themyscira and names her after Steve Trevor's grandmother,
Yes.
the creator of Wonder Woman, and then also Diana Prince.
and also as Steve Trevor just names that out of nowhere in the most
He just goes
Wonky
"I love my
way.
grandma."
I don't
Yeah.
understand. And legitimately, the one thing, and when we get into it, is did he know that that was going to go on? Because it's a weird play to just make a baby out of somebody's life soul and not
That's
let him
how
know.
Wonder Woman came to be. She's made out
Yeah,
of
But that's the
Depending on
thing.
the
Like
version.
the
There
mother before
wasn't
her,
a
she-
father that was like Steve Trevor comes back from the dead and says, "What the fuck? What do I owe child support for this kid? I
Yeah,
don't even know about."
It's an
Like he
allegory
has
for
no
unwed mothers.
idea that if that's the case, it's a little weird.
That's the arc from 2 years from now when Wonder Woman becomes the CEO of Warner Brothers and
Exactly,
he
yeah.
needs, because it's going to become his actual mother, or a producer at Warner Brothers, and Steve Trevor will owe child support, and she will call him a deadbeat.
So yeah,
Yeah, because
as
he was
Wonder Woman
dead.
goes off to work on the letterbox of Die Hard or
Yep.
whatever the hell he talks about. Yeah. So I don't know. It leads to some weird ideas down the line.
no doubt. Sally Akibe says, MVP, what are your thoughts on Radiant Black?
I really enjoyed the first few issues of that series. I thought that it brought something fresh and new kind of to the indie, not really like the indie space, but it was something that wasn't being done within the big two. But then it felt like it was just kind of getting into like Power Rangers territory where there's Radiant Blue, Radiant Red, Radiant Yellow. And so
Radiant
I
Pink?
kind of liked Radiant Pink, yeah. But I have a ton of friends that are still collecting the series and still really love it. But I mean, yeah, I think I stopped after maybe like issue 5 or 6. But for what it is, I think it is something that's interesting and something that's new that for a lot of readers, they're like, yeah, it kind of invigorates them to want to get to the comic shop on Wednesdays. So I can't blame it for that.
Very nice. Glitchioki. So this twink killed off Alfred, and now Steve Trevor. So might assume Lois Lane or Jimmy Olsen's next. DC should treat this guy like they treat J.J. Abrams.
So give him work and a lot of money and him not actually produce anything?
And yeah. And I hate Tom King, but the thing is, what have they done with Steve Trevor in the past 8 years? He's done nothing.
Right.
So what does it matter? It really doesn't. And the big play was that Tom King has Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor smooching for 2 issues, Absolute Power. They haven't even been dating for like 5 years. So it's nonsense, but it doesn't really matter.
But I don't think he'll kill off Lois Lane or Jimmy Olsen because he's not writing Superman.
Right.
Not yet.
He'll kill off
No, you say that. Kalechi says if you read that Up in the Sky, one of the issues had a whole page of all the ways that the Lois Lane just gets completely obliterated and like disgustingly destroyed. So he has done it in a weird way. But yeah, he sucks.
Yeah, there you go. And he says with JJ, Warner Brothers has canned all his projects and put him in director jail. Huh?
I haven't seen him do anything. Yeah, I haven't seen JJ Abrams around really. I don't
he was supposed to do Justice League Dark, and then they had a couple of other projects that they were supposed to be doing with Bad Robot, and they never came to fruition. Oh, the Superman movie he's also producing with Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Oh no!
Oh, thank God that thing just went away. That got memory hold, literally. Yeah.
They should definitely put Tom King in writer jail. Like,
yes,
you can do no more harm, sir. Federico de la Casa. Hi, guys. Nobody ever talks about Grendel here. I'm a fan of Matt Wagner since 1992. I'm happy about the new Crucible comic and wait for the new one.
I read that Grendel comic this week. I read it cold. I haven't read.
Why aren't you talking about Grendel more then?
Isn't Grendel like trying to find a ring or something?
Something weird. I mean, it was it was fine. I mean, I read Grendel when I was a kid. I mean, I haven't read Grendel in over 3 decades. You know, I was a bigger Mage fan. So, yeah, I mean, he's putting out new Grendel. Everyone.
Grendel.
This is why we don't talk about
it. Grendel
and
satisfy. Yeah, satisfy the viewer. Grendel.
I'm not reading it. I'm sorry, brother. Gallup says it'll amaze me if Venom 3 does well, despite Null being in it. As for a versus Spider-Man movie, I don't know. Just as long as MJ is likable with red hair. You're going to be sorely disappointed.
We'll be waiting a long time for that one, pal.
I don't think Venom 3 is going to do well, but I think it will do better than Joker or Morbius or the Marvels. How's that?
Sounds right.
Are you looking forward to Venom 3?
No. No, I'm not. No, I didn't really like the first one, and I never went to see the second one. And
the first one's fine if you don't want to see a Venom movie.
Right, exactly. And as I've been going to the movie theater, they keep showing the damn trailer over and over and over again, and I'm just like, please, I'm done with this. Yeah, I can't. Like, I think I've seen the movie already. Like, I've seen this trailer like 20 times. So, but I'm I don't really have any attachment to Null. I know that got people excited, but yeah, I just don't. I'm not. I doubt if it will be anything, too good.
And Chuck Skills brings up a great point. I thought J.J. Abrams was co-produced with Bruce Timm on that Batman cartoon. You are correct.
Oh, you're right.
That is the one thing they've done since he's been at Warner Brothers.
I still think it's so weird that Amazon picked that up, like HBO passed on it. It's weird.
Next day, Calb says, there's an artist called Kyle Marcus Art. Type that in. He did his own comic. What if MJ had the black suit? It's a good take. My work, it's clever. Or take my word, it's clever. I just read a book where MJ had the black suit. It's called Spider-Man Reign 2.
Reign 2, yeah. I haven't read it this week. Was it good? It's going up this week.
It's wacky.
It's wacky.
Very strange.
I have to get that. I still have to get to that one. I liked the last couple of issues. It made the first 2 issues. It really improved the first 2 issues. And I'm like, oh wow, this feels great. Look at MJ as Venom. That's awesome.
I read the second issue and I was like, you know what? This is stupid enough that I'm just going to go along with it. The art's very, very good. It's energetic. Then I got to the 3rd issue and I was like, never mind. Maybe not. And I got to this one. I really like Carrie Andrews, but it's a weird fucking book. That's the best way to describe it. But if you're looking for something like that, Cal Marcus art. Thank you very much for the suggestion. And also, we do have HH, the boys at Sigma Comics. Shout out to Thinking Critical from New York Comic Con. Keep it tuned to Thinking Critical. Support the team and keep your comics indie. Visit Sigma Comics at booth 2137. Indies rule, dude. Absolutely. Why didn't you go up to New York Comic Con? You're just like right down the street.
Down the street. It's a good stretch of the legs there, pal. And I gotta get the days off, and then you gotta get some lodging while you're down there, and literally stay in Manhattan, Gotham. It is Gotham. Gotham was where madmen and madwomen lived in England.
Also, the tickets are fucking expensive.
Really? Yeah. I am traveling to a con though. I'm going to go to Dallas Fan Expo this year.
It's going to be hot. It's going to be off the chain
in like late May.
What is it? What's the word? It's going to be fleek.
It's on the fleek.
It's on
slap?
Fleek. Okay.
Is it going to
slap?
It's fire,
definitely, here comes the Calico slaps, and definitely check out HH, the fellow Sigma Comics at the booth. Go see Aaron and Drew and all our friends as well. It's going to be a lot of fun there at New York Comic Con. And Calvin says, type in the artist name. It's MJ hunting Craven after he murdered Peter. Yeah, it sounds like Sony should have hired that guy to write their non-Spider-Man universe. Probably could have.
Maybe the Craven movie. No.
Are you excited for Craven?
No.
Hey, let's keep doing all these Spider-Man movies with no Spider-Man.
No
I'm
Spider-Man.
sure that'll totally work for you in the long run.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. So definitely check that one out. Really appreciate that. Thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. But we do have a big event here. We had Tom King kill off Steve Trevor. Oh, no. In Wonder Woman number 14, we just got out of Absolute Power. And I don't think the Tom King Wonder Woman tie-ins to Absolute Power were particularly good or compelling. And we get back here. They promised something big was going to happen. And there's only 2 people in the world that I know that like this. They happen to be on this show. We've got support the murder of Steve Trevor in the pretentious writing style of Tom King, skipping around for no reason, terrible narration throughout the comic book, but it does look like $1 million because the artist Daniel St. Pierre is great. Is Nandor and Sully. Nandor, what did you love about the book? That's just what I want to hear.
Well, so I think love is too strong.
Well, that's the word I'm using. You love
that's the one here. Well, so before I get into what I liked about it, I want to talk about really quickly. I feel like this book, being a part of the All In initiative and coming off the heels of 2 tie-in months, 2 tie-in books, it hurt this book. I really don't feel like getting into a new era, a new jumping on point for Wonder Woman, that this necessarily works in that regard. And having 2 tie-in issues, and getting back to the main story, the main Wonder Woman story, I had to go back and be like, okay, where did we leave off here at the end of issue would have been 11. Going into it, I was like, we're killing off this character who has been a part of Wonder Woman, been a part of her history, and is the love interest to Diana Prince. And it's right off the bat, like it just happens, and you're kind of shocked by it. There's like wait a second, there's really no lead up to this moment, and that was something that I thought was really weird. And I think the title of the book itself it made me laugh a little bit. What is the point of Steve Trevor? Like, I was like, wow, like this is kind of a statement. It's like, what are we saying about this character? And it made me chuckle. So, but what I appreciated about the book is, of course, the artwork, but also I felt like the final moments of the story of Diana creating, Trinity, creating her daughter, she was doing that in prayer. I thought was really interesting, and trying to make the legacy of Steve Trevor and what he means to her, try to have that live on, because that's what children are. They're the legacy of their parents. And so I appreciate that, and I like the metaphor that was used with being, on the shores of Paradise Island, and it's a bit of a harkening back to Wonder Woman's origins, and so I appreciated that, and I personally I find all of the Sovereign's point of view to be an interesting narrative tool, because it's getting to the perspective of the villain and how this villain sees Diana and trying to break her, trying to shatter her in any way possible. And I also felt like it was interesting that out of all the things that the Sovereign has done, the fact that he kind of he does something impulsive by killing Steve Trevor. It wasn't planned, and so you could tell that Diana has really gotten under the character's skin, and that the villain is being more and more intimidated by.
Yeah, he just wants to provoke, outright provoke her. Like,
yeah,
like it has a cold open where he's talking. You have the Sovereign talking to Dr. Psycho, who's an interesting Wonder Woman villain, and I like what Tom King does with bad guys. Sometimes I'm not the biggest Tom King fan, but I really enjoyed his joke, his Penguin 12-issue mini that just
finished. I really enjoyed that too.
Pretty darn good. That's like, I think, Tom King in his wheelhouse. So, and Dr. Psycho's advice to the Sovereign is like, well, if you really want, my solution, like self-delete, and you'll be over with this. Wing game. And like, that was a solid line. I thought that was a solid moment.
Yeah, I thought the whole issue was bullshit. And just to go by the deal, like some of the things that Nandor said, Tom King has no clue of what's been happening with Wonder Woman or Steve Trevor over the past 10 years. He ends up having, and you're right, the Absolute Power ends up having those two tie-in issues that get you away from the story that Tom King hadn't been telling for over a year anyway. He hasn't done that. Sovereign takes a time out to not even do anything while Wonder Woman goes to a space mall, helps a kid with cancer, dilly-dallies around. They haven't done shit. He hasn't had any story. The Sovereign's an interesting character, but the idea of having absolute power, Jeremy Adams also did some Absolute Power tie-in issues and actually used those to extend his story, so that if you actually were reading Green Lantern, you could read Green Lantern and not even be involved in Absolute Power and kind of get the best of both worlds. So Tom King decides that during Absolute Power, he's going to have just 2 issues of Wonder Woman making out with Steve Trevor only because he knows he's going to kill Steve Trevor, and they haven't been love interest in quite some time. So he tries to force in the deal to try to convince us or fool us that they are a love interest still. And that's ridiculous. Also, Tom King doesn't realize that and I'm not saying the Clunrad's run of Wonder Woman was any good, but she had a pretty good bunch of characters around her, support characters, that he just gets rid of because he wants sad sack Wonder Woman, because everybody in this book has to be depressed. And then in this old deal, the idea of Trinity, at the beginning, they pushed again, who's the father? Yeah, you kind of get that Steve Trevor's, but you couldn't play along. They end up, it's a big dupe. And then you have the play of also, in recent continuity, Wonder Woman hasn't been made. He went back to the clay thing and was ambiguous about it just to get this moment as well. She's been a demigoddess, and you end up just changing all this nonsense. And he just, I don't know, he just does this to get the feels. And I think it is to get back to, as you said, Namor, the all in. We need something big. And the only thing Tom King can do that's big is kill somebody. That's all he can do. He can't write any sort of emotions in his stories, in my opinion. He has to kill people to get them. And it's pretty disgusting. He is an awful writer. In this, seems like an awful person because of what he writes. I don't want to go too full in, but this is his MO. He does it on every book that he writes. He ends up making every character, and he ends up where he comes into a book. Most people would want to leave a book in a better spot. He leaves them in destruction. And a lot of his books, you end up having to redo things afterwards to actually get them back to the, step, zero deal. Like Heroes in Crisis, that took, 4 years to try to fix that fucking nonsense? I can't stand his writing. I wish that this was out of continuity so I wouldn't have to read it, and fuck him. And that's my last thing. I can't stand the guy. The idea of all this stuff, it's like he just goes into a book. He doesn't care what is led into it. He just ends up, I'm going to Tom King the shit out of this and fuck everybody. And I just, I hate it. But
I will say, I think one of Tom King's weaknesses is he tries to, he has a story in mind. He's trying to say something, right? But instead of doing it with what I think would work better with his own characters, he uses established characters to tell the story that he's trying to tell, and that doesn't always work because of the continuity or because of the legacy of these characters. And I think Marvel and DC has gotten to a point where, you know, they're so writer oriented or so writer focused that they are more concerned about how to, you know, these writers are more concerned about how to put their own stamp or imprint on the character, which I understand.
I agree.
Why they would do that. And I feel like, and it's something I've seen and I've read mostly everything that Tom King's written. And I've seen how he tries to do this with different characters, and sometimes it works. It depends on the character.
He's better at obscure characters because, like you said, he almost is able to use them as like his own deal. If somebody doesn't really know, you know,
like the Omega Man story. Omega Man, you know,
like
I thought
the
that
Force,
was,
the Force of July.
Stuff like that works better because people don't really know the characters. So when he fucks them up,
right,
aware. But no, he has some wiggle room there. He can,
and I think
do some things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people see. I'm not very. Wonder Woman was never a character I read a lot about, and I wasn't following her. And so going into this book, this is kind of the first time, and you guys are like, man, it's probably like we're sorry for you, Nandor, but this is the first time where I've been keeping up with the Wonder Woman story. So I've been like, for someone who is being introduced to the character now, and I've read like George Perez's stuff and some of the other books here and there, but mostly Wonder Woman has been a more guest starring character in other books that I've been reading. So for me, I don't have all of this history coming into it with the character. I'm getting introduced to her in a way that I think a lot of people will be reading this character and they're like, okay, this isn't Diana, or this isn't Steve Trevor, this isn't.
But you're good.
We're bringing all of that to the book, and that makes total sense. You know, that makes a lot of sense to me.
And Wonder Woman, the book hasn't been great for, I would say, since Greg Rucka ended up his run at the beginning of Rebirth. So it's been years. So and also this Wonder Woman, I don't like it, but it feels more important than it has in a long time. I mean, it really does. It feels bigger and more important. It's just the way that Wonder Woman, like I get this idea of her catchphrase now as "no, thank you." I'm like, what the hell catchphrase is that?
Yeah, that's not really a catchphrase.
No, and there's even articles now about this is the greatest catchphrase ever. I'm like, really? No,
yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah.
I'm passing on the fries.
Yeah, exactly. I said something I never say at the buffet.
It's no Imperious Rex, right?
No. It's no hell yes. That got old too, but still.
I think, I was talking to Wes about this right before we went live, but I've been reading every issue of this, and I've been struggling to try and see what it is that Tom King has to say, because it initially the story was going to be, okay, how is Wonder Woman going to hunt this Amazonian murderer down? And how is she going to deal with the United States of America essentially deporting all of these Amazons back to paradise? How are they going to do something like that where these women are essentially demigods, right? Like, how is that going to work? How what's the political commentary that Tom King is trying to write, and all this stuff. And they dropped it by issue 2. Like, we haven't seen that.
And it's such a big idea. And then when you read it, what Tom King does, and I think that people, and I've read everything he's read, pretty much every page of everything he's read and reviewed them all. But the thing that Tom King forgets, he wants these big moments, and he forgets what's going on in the grand scheme of his story. So when he wants to have Wonder Woman go off to help a kid with cancer, he forgets the idea that Amazonians are being hunted down. and they're being
Right.
deported, and even then, that was like the idea of, well, this is Wonder Woman who has compassion, and she'll have it even at points where she should be preparing for war. I get it, but then she goes to the space mall to get Batman a birthday gift, and at that point,
Aw.
some Amazon sisters could be being slaughtered, and she doesn't seem to care. Then she ends up where, even in this issue, where she ends up where she gets the flag and she's crying, and then she's there for this point and all this long time and says no thank you of going back. I mean, she's not just saying, in his mind, it's that she's so devastated that she can't go on because of Steve Trevor, but at this point still, you have everything, pretty much World War III being rained down on the Amazons, which we get away from. And as Nandor said, these are the things that I think why you don't really remember the story. It's not quite those two issues that ended up with absolute power. A lot of it is that I think Tom King has forgotten the story. He just he wants these feels moments. He wants to write. He seems to like write things specifically to pat himself on the back and get an Eisner, which, he has those issues all the time. And I just, that the idea of the overall play of, oh my God, there are people in the Sovereign, and the Sovereign, is he a really badass character? Most of the time he's been telling spinning a yarn to Trinity about her mother, while in the regular book, he's twiddling his thumbs as Wonder Woman goes and does whatever she wants to do. And you've gotten away from the things. You haven't really shown a lot. And I also think that coming back, like Nandor said, you have to do something big with him. So he kills Steve Trevor. Now we're like, oh my God, he's an evil guy, this bastard. But I feel like everything feels very artificial with it. But and one of the things one of the things that I do hate about Tom King's writing is that a lot of people, they love Tom King. So they'll go, these are the versions of the characters that then they go forward with. And a lot of times they're not the best versions, or they're his kind of deal. And then, you don't set them up to enjoy other things, or they get upset and things like that.
Well, I think the problem with Tom King is he writes backwards from the moment that he's trying to create.
Yeah.
And he loses track of the plot in the process. He's not interested in the story. He's interested in a moment within the story.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, because he's running his way backwards, there is no real gravity to it. There's no weight to it. It's setup. It feels artificial because there was no organic evolution. He just reverse engineered a moment.
And what I get in this, and Nandor said it at one point, when you open up the issue, Steve Trevor's shot. And it kind of took away any sort of the tension leading to it. I mean, most people knew this was going to happen from the solicit, but it felt like by the end, and I guess it's just the way that you look at it, but Steve Trevor felt more like a prop to get the, things out of Wonder Woman than actually me feeling like, oh my God, Steve Trevor, he's dead. And then me and MVP said at the one point, just at the end, when he's like, oh, by the way, that whipper, that firecracker of a grandmother I had, it was her name. She was pretty crazy. And then just goes away. And I'm like, was he saying that he wanted to go see her? Was he just randomly like, by the way, I really needed to tell you about this grandmother of mine. She was so crazy. Or is there
maybe there's
a panel that that Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor talked about maybe making this kid? And he's like, hey, by the way, if you could do me a favor, call her somewhat after my grandpa. But you didn't see
he's
that
dead
moment.
now.
Because,
maybe
he
sees
knew of it. But I'm telling you,
Yeah.
when you come back and you're like, what the hell? You made a kid? Like, I'm not ready for that. It's just weird.
And also they set up that Amelie was going to be her mom.
They
Because she
kind of
was
hinted at
pregnant. That
that.
was like the big reveal.
And that's what I thought it was going to be. And then you'd find out Steve Trevor nailed her. And then we got a story.
Now
No,
we're talking about the story.
yeah, and again, because this lady at the end, this other Amazon, maybe she gets killed at the end, and then Wonder Woman takes Trinity to raise her as her own. That'd be a really cool story as well. But everything, like I said, what happens in Tom King, he loves to write mysteries, but he's not real good at it. In my opinion, he leaves things like, if you go back again, I always go Heroes in Crisis, but you go Heroes in Crisis at the beginning, they're talking about the puddlers for like
The
2
puddler,
issues
yeah.
that never came up again. He lays clues out that they aren't like red herrings. They're just forget-me-nots. He ends up never remembering by the end. And what usually happens at the end, he has to do a lot of exposition to get to
Right.
the ending point, because it seems like most Tom King stories change drastically while he's doing them, to just forget everything and not really work within the concept of his own, structure and outline. They just seem to be crazy things. Now, this is just kind of out of nowhere. Like I said, Steve Trevor hasn't really been a love interest for Diana. People have been wanting that. And then you do this, and it's a shame. It could have been done so much better.
Yeah,
And
and
I think-
I don't understand like those witches or whoever they were, like those
Yeah,
3
they're just the
ladies,
3
like,
crowns that have like the
Those-
threads of
those are the
life. He tried to
fates.
modernize them.
Yeah.
It's the fates. He
Those are
tried
the
to
fates,
modernize them with
yeah,
their
and-
yarn
Okay,
room. Yeah,
okay.
that's all it
From
was.
the second
But again,
you're born,
I think that what he's trying to do is be too clever there, instead of telling and just being clever, trying to be clever with the out of time issue and the days and these things. He should have told a straightforward story, and it could have had a little more.
It was disorienting.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm reading this book late at night, and I'm like, wait, what is happening here?
Mhm.
Like I have to adapt to the kind of story he's telling. And he's done this before, like in Human Target. I think it was like issue 5. But that was done well. And I feel like the way he structured this issue was not the way to tell this kind of story.
No. And I think that's kind of his pretentiousness coming in, is that like you could have written this story linearly, and and
that's too easy
there wouldn't,
for him, right?
it's too easy, and there wouldn't have really been very much substance there. Like people wouldn't have had that big like, oh my god, this is such a. And I think to y'all's point, Jim and Doc, like he has that moment at the end that he's trying to hit, and he writes backwards from there. But what he does is he goes, I don't know how to fill this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it with a lot of pretentious just crap that makes me feel good, or that kind of gets me into therapy, because he's kind of expressing a lot of the emotional weight that he's feeling at the time. And so now we're having to deal with his emotional baggage in these books that are pretentiously filled with all of this nonsense to get to a point that really doesn't have that big of an impact. So that's kind of where I feel like I'm just reading his therapy, and we're now having to deal with the pretentiousness of like what goes on in the comics.
And I agree a lot of times when you read comics, especially nowadays, because it's been done great, but when you have a comic that goes out of time, out of sequence, he usually, if you do look at it, it's because if it was linear, it would be empty. Like you said, MVP, there's not enough substance. So to make it feel like it's a little bit, because it does, what happens is you then have to really think about the timing of it. And that makes you feel like you've spent a lot of time on the comic. Then, oh my God, there was a lot here, because it made, I had to think about it.
If it went
and a lot of times
day 1
straightforward. And you would assume they're writing it straightforward at one point, and then, okay, I'm going to put this here and this here and this here. But it just ends up where it's just, there's not a lot to it. And it kind of hides that fact a lot of times.
Right. I call it,
me nuts.
It's a narrative dirty trick. It's like you're telling us, but I mean, it made it more interesting. If he told the tale from day 1 through 50, whatever that was, it's like the 50 days.
They always
like
go 52.
After absolute,
it's DC.
Oh, you no shit, huh? You see, that was a drop. Good, yeah, and it's just a narrative dirty trick. You know what I mean? Here you go. Here's a
again. There's sometimes like say Pulp Fiction. I enjoyed that. The out of sequence made you really think about it and whatnot and go with it, but just usually it's done in a way that it's just to make you think that there's more of a story than there is. And it is kind of, and Nandor, you said it, when you're reading it, it's kind of frustrating at times, because you're there and you're like, okay, day 13, like, oh my, and at the end you're like, screw it.
Yeah.
What do you think's the better pretentious trope, though? I'll throw this one to you now, Nandor. Do you think it's him skipping around time, because he does that a lot now, or do you think it was what he was doing in Batman, where it was music lyrics or a poem,
or repeating dialogue even before that? Yeah, the poems
throughout the entire thing. like, oh, what's this from? And you're like, oh god, this is doing Shakespeare again.
Bane telling
Fuck.
old remember Bane with the old Russian folklore and crazy stuff, or KG Beast or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, Tom King seems like, you know, he's a student of a lot of you know, American literature and, you know, old English literature and you know, poetry and things like that, and he puts a lot of that in his books, but unfortunately it doesn't always translate well. And a lot of the time, you know, I'm reading some of it and I'm like, you know, I don't really get what what he's trying to say. And it's just kind of there to, I think, be, you know, it's very flowery language. And it just doesn't always translate well to the story. And so
The
again,
Amazo doing Shakespeare.
I always
the reason
thought
I
that he
stopped
was
reading
just
the fucking
lazy
time.
and he grabbed public domain stuff to fill pages. That's what I.
yeah, no,
but he
yeah,
has his
I can see that.
ideas. It's just, but that Shakespeare with that Amazos and the clicks and oh my god.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, too, about like the day 1 through 50 idea, I don't really see the significance of that. It's like, is it just 50 days of mourning? Is it 50
Yeah,
days?
she's
Like, you know, like I
Might
get,
be.
for 50 days straight.
Yeah.
Everyone's worried about her.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I just reread the Iliad by Homer, and that's very Greek, and it deals with a lot of death. And there was one part at the end of it that I liked. Diana cuts off a lock of her hair, and then she clenches her fist, and that's became the two threads of Steve and Diana, which she closed again, and then made Elizabeth thread. You know, and then that. But the cutting off of the hair,
I
that
thought
was
that's why
like,
she
you know,
wanted the
there's-
yarn. She was grabbing Steve and she was going to make
Yeah,
a
it was the
baby with
yarn.
him.
That's what it was.
you know,
the two
yeah.
souls. And
right, making this new thread, you know what I mean, from the muses. But the cutting off of the hair was like, that was like the death of Achilles. Like all the heroes cut off a lock of their hair and put on his funeral pyre, you know. So it's got this Greek tradition going on. You're using the muses, you're using Diana, who has, you know, all this Greek stuff, mythology baked into her. And like I said, another thing, the Sampier art really elevates this mediocre story. Daniel Sampier's art is spectacular.
he gets the best artist. He always does. Yeah.
That's the
This
case
is-
with
it's
every book he
good
writes.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, wonderful, beautiful Diana. There's that like a scene where they're in the church. It's Steve and Diana. They're in a church, which is kind of weird. They're about to have a kiss in a church, but they're not a married couple. And there's no furor over that. But was that just a nice, innocent moment? I think it was. You know,
I think it was a
maybe they
forced
just
moment
found
to-
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. They just started making out. And
What's
absolute
the better
power.
church
Wait,
scene, Jim? Them trying to make out, or is it Joker murdering that woman right?
Oh,
in
I
front of
was
Batman
going
and
to
him doing
say
nothing
the
about it?
Batman deal. I'm
Oh,
glad you
no.
brought, because I was just going to say, when you said church, I thought it was great when you had all that murder and mayhem in the church during his Batman run.
Batman goes and prays. with him?
Even then, like, that's the thing that I talk about. And if you remember that scene at the point, you know, his throat was sliced by Catwoman at one point, and he just laid there and waxed poetic for like 3 hours after he just completely got his throat cut to shreds. And they just laid there and talked about things. And it's just, that's what he does. He wants the moment, but the moments always in my mind are very, like I said, artificial. They don't work with what has happened within the deal. And then again, in that story, this family who was just there for a wedding, everybody got killed. Nobody cared afterwards. It really didn't matter to anybody, including Batman.
Nobody
He
cared
just
what was
like,
happened.
yeah,
Batman
yeah,
literally
was
watched
just,
it
yeah,
happen and did nothing.
he
about
just
it.
let things go. But that's where he wanted that moment. And that's where, again, I think that when he wants something to be like, in my mind, and I said before, one of my jokes was, for the longest time, you would have a kid die in almost every issue, the first issue of a Tom King series. He would do that because that's the only way he can figure to get, oh my God, like he'd rather have a villain walk and kick a dog and punch a baby. That's the only way I think he can get to making you care, or at least he thinks that, because he goes so over the top instead of actually doing, you know, a subtle deal or actually giving a character, you know, a well, you know, characterization and things. Like the Sovereign, he's more of a concept than a character. He has been since the beginning, and he is a good concept for a villain, especially nowadays, but he never gets past that. So he ends up where Sovereign's just kind of standing around saying things, and now he has to do something big because it's been a while since he did anything really. And well, Diana, I keep saying, but Space Mall and Cancer Kid, all these things that just are side issues, and he just
Sitting
I
on
don't
a
think he
island fighting.
Well,
yeah
and,
yeah
and isn't the
Yeah.
Sovereign? He's it's hard to kind of track, but he's saying all this to Trinity,
to
right?
Trinity.
In the
He's telling the
future.
Because he's already
story.
lost.
He's already
Right.
lost. So that kind
Okay.
of is a weird play, but also he's talking to Trinity, who I don't know. I think she's falling asleep half the time because this
That's
dialogue is
a lot to say, right?
It's a lot. I mean, this guy won't shut the hell up. Like I would go where you would hope that
Gonna
Trinity
read
is
bad
like,
in trades.
yeah, and
Mhm.
Trinity, like this story though, again, it's the story of how your mom's so great, told from a villain's perspective. Okay, but it's gone on too long, and some of this dialogue, like he can't even say, "Oh, I ended up getting somebody to help me," or he has these tropes, and the way he talks and has them talk is just so over the top. It's just crazy, but yeah. But-
I didn't understand the church scene because doesn't Diana tell him like don't go see
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Sovereign
says
because
don't
he's going to
go.
kill
Yeah.
you? And so Steve Trevor's like, "Don't worry, hon, nothing can hurt me." And then they make out, and then he goes, "Hey, you said you needed me, right? You
with that
wanted
big
to talk
smile
to me?"
on his face
Yeah.
too, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
he's like,
yeah.
Very
"Hey,
dorky
something I can
smile.
do
Oh
for
no,
you?"
I
As
never
Sovereign's
thought a
pointing
gun.
at him.
I love that
Yeah.
idea. It's like nothing can hurt me. Oh no, a gun.
Oh no! Yeah,
And
oh
even
no! Wait,
then,
I'm
like,
human. Oh no!
Some of the cool things that could have been said, and Wes, I know being a history buff and things like that, I actually wanted to know, like, maybe you could have told us a little history of what that gun was. Like, oh, it's like Aaron Burr's gun, or it's this or that. It would be kind of a neat little aside to give it a little more, of a well done story. But he's just like, yeah, I'll grab this thing here, and
Should have pulled out George Washington's axe that he cut down
That's what
the
I'm
cherry
saying.
tree with.
Yeah.
And cut his heart out and send it back
like,
to
yeah,
her in a
get
box.
his old wooden choppers. Get him you do that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the founding
everything
father
is
now.
yeah.
That was the thing. It was he wanted the moment of Steve Trevor dying by the Sovereign's hands by shooting him, but he didn't know how to get there. So he's like, well, maybe I'll just have Wonder Woman warning him not to go. But then you're like, well, then if she warns him not to go, then why would he go?
Because he
It just-
ends up being
so-
kind of an idiot. And when he shows up smiling, you're like,
Yeah.
"Ah."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also we see that after he got shot. So you know what I mean? It doesn't play. We see that scene after he's been shot, so we know it's going to
Right.
happen. And it's just that weird. Why did he go? Because he hasn't been really doing that crazy a thing behind the scenes and whatever. It just didn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Just getting
Yeah.
it
It lacked a lot of impact because Steve
Yeah,
Trevor
yeah.
has been sidelined,
Yeah, yeah.
throughout the entire book. And so that's probably my biggest gripe about it too, is if you're gonna have a character death, you have to establish the relationship, and you have to, make you feel it, and when I turned that page, it was like the second or third page in the comic, and he gets shot, and I'm just like, oh, wait a second, like,
Yeah.
I don't feel anything,
Well,
like
yeah, that's the thing. I'm with you. I
Yeah.
actually didn't feel much, and I think that, I mean, the only thing that you can get from this is that Wonder Woman has been kind of like walking around doing not much. She's been kind of, and he needed to come up with a reason why she'd be inspired now to fight. And that's the only reason for it, but she should have a lot of reasons, especially, I mean, she's as bad as OJ looking for this, Amazon murderer because she has done nothing. I mean, she's I'm going to get to
Not
the
even
bottom of
trying.
this.
It'll be
It's
my
like-
dying breath.
Exactly.
She
I
just
will find this murder. And she hasn't done anything.
She's exactly like OJ because
Yeah.
she's making sure she's looking on all of the island for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
murderer, and OJ spent all his time looking on the golf course.
Well, I was going to say, he thought the
Yeah.
murderer had to have been a golfer.
yes.
So that's all he's doing. But yeah, she's we haven't really been seeing her do a lot. And in the fact of that, they made the point because, again, I understand that you can't have a story where, Superman and Batman come in and save the day all the time. You have to have some reason. Usually, Superman's off world, you have all this. But Batman would be pretty good at maybe in the background digging into this, Amelia, and seeing what all this was, and maybe giving her a little help while she is being hunted down. But yet you never feel like she's being hunted down. Nothing. Even Steve Trevor, we said his death didn't feel like it had any sort of impact emotionally or whatever. And I think that's kind of like this whole story feels like it's kind of not had like a dream, and being told in the past or the future in that way, it makes it feel that way as well, that it really doesn't matter what is happening in the story, and it just is gonna, okay, you're kind of like sleepwalking with Wonder Woman through it, and it just doesn't feel like it should have. It should have more impact than this, including this issue. But yeah, it really didn't.
There we go. Should we hear from the peoples?
Yes.
Let's see. So Lade says that is every stinking series of Marvels these days. Screw the past. It definitely feels that way. Marvel in continuity. What can we do to make the character less important? Destroy their origin. Stuff like that. You got a point there. Eddie Brock 9043 says, thankfully, Wells's run on ASM ends in 2 weeks. Any more news on who will take over after Joe Kelly and Justina Ireland's 8 Death storyline? Well, I don't know what you've heard, Jim. I've heard the names that I heard, and it has to be false. The names I heard were Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing.
Oh, no.
Was a rumor.
Yep. That's what I heard.
You heard that? Oh, God.
Yep. I heard that as well. And they better not. That would be really bad. Somehow the suit will be, some sort of alien species that the spider symbol means something. They're ridiculous. But I'm telling you,
Captain America plot.
There was somebody else. I heard somebody else, and one of the things I heard was Justina Ireland will just take
that's
over.
Another name that I would imagine.
That's the other thing I've heard a lot.
This is their way of soft launching her into the.
Yep.
So she can coattail ride the same way that they did Matt Rosenberg onto X-Men, the same way that they did Zeb Wells onto Spider-Man. They've done this before. They'll do it again because they thought it worked. It's failed every single time, but sure, fucking do it again. I legitimately want to see them put Justina Ireland on ASM. I want to see exactly how low ASM sales can get, because we thought it was bad with Slot. We thought it was, we're like, wow, you actually got worse with Wells. I want to see if she can get it down to sub 40,000 sales.
What could happen?
Maybe we'll get an announcement this weekend. Maybe.
I don't know, because if you announce that, then it really,
like 8 months.
It really ends up, making
true.
the Joe Kelly deal, and it's kind of, and then they're really pushing this 8 deaths. The other thing I heard before was Jed McKay, and then I heard that kind of isn't happening now because some of the things that he's done isn't really.
He's going to write every flagship book.
Yeah, they were going to end up at one point. Yeah, and I think that the last I heard, they're not really that into the Avengers.
I love the fact. I love the fact that they've tried to turn. I mean, remember 20 years ago, almost exactly, we had Brian Michael Bendis at the height of his creativity, writing a bunch of the flagship books. Now the best they could find is Jed fucking McKay.
Moon Knight was fine at the beginning.
That's the thing. Jed McKay should have kind of like rode that Moon Knight a little bit more, and maybe pick and choose some of the books that he does, because he has, that deal. But again, you're going to want to be on the big things, big events and things. And I don't think that he's quite that writer, but
Avengers been pretty bad. So doesn't sound like it'll be Jed McKay. Those names I've heard. I wouldn't be surprised with Justina Ireland, and then I've also heard Colin Kelly and Jack. But there's no way that can be real consideration. There's no way. Right?
It almost feels like that's the last thing. If they can't get anybody, I don't know.
Once again, I will say, if you think things can't get worse in the comics industry, you merely lack sufficient imagination.
I wouldn't even be surprised at one point, like it's Christopher Cantwell or all these lousy writers, but hopefully it's not. Hopefully they get somebody that's pretty good.
Next up from Eddie. Eddie wouldn't read Mystique #1 by Declan Shalvey. S.H.I.E.L.D. is now a small office in the Pentagon instead of being a global spy agency.
Yeah,
sure. Sure,
snooze.
you know what? Fuck it. Just do whatever you want.
I did not read Mystique #1 because it was
Oh, really?
written and illustrated by Declan Shalvey.
Oh, you missed that bullet.
The
Did you
human
like it?
personification of the color beige.
I don't like everything. I got crappy tastes. I like fun comics. It can be crappy and it can be fun at the same time. But this was a crappy comic, and it was not fun at the same time.
Yeah.
No, I read
no.
Declan Shalvey's Alien Annual, and I was so offended.
That was so
I
bad.
swore I would never read another comic book by his again. But I did read Thundercats #1,
Mhm.
which was uninspiringly generic.
I was
Did you-
not.
Did
You didn't
make
read
it up page
Terminator.
before?
I did not read Terminator, and I did not read Mystique.
Mm.
So I dodged the bullet there, Sully.
You dodged a bullet. Like that can't be said for Maverick there, our friend. And oh man, it's a mutant mess, my friend. It really is.
Does the
That's
art
the
look
word.
better? I
No,
remember
the
when he
art's
took
horrible.
over for Steve McNiven on Return of Wolverine in issue 3. It was a shock.
No,
P.F. Chang's Wolverine.
Well, no, at least McNiven made it kind of look decent.
the art wasn't too great in Mystique. I think the guys and I last night said that the whole book just felt stilted. Like the dialogue and the art felt really robotic and very just it was like Doc said, very meh. The human personification of beige. There are some interesting concepts like bringing Mystique back into a villainous era where she's not like, I'm a good guy. Like she's now just kind of really doing everything for her own, good at this point. And so she's really embracing that villainous quality and aspect about her. But man, yeah, having Maria Hill chastise Nick Fury Jr., because Nick Fury Sr. shows up in this book too. So you've got the two Nick Furies, and then you've got Sam Jackson, Nick Fury talking to Maria Hill and saying like, I need to go find Mystique. And she's like, we're on a budget here. I can't give you a team. You can't just like do this and do that. So she's like, you have like a paper clip and a pencil, and that's how you can go find him. So he's like, all right. It's something, but not great. Another one for the From the Ashes line that is just another dump in the garbage. It's just like
more ashes.
From the ashes.
From the ashes.
More like from the asses.
There we go.
There you go.
I said that.
Ichioki says, I've not read this trash. Who is the Sovereign? What's he about?
Well, the Sovereign typifies
He's the personification of
white
colonialism.
male cis
Yes.
history's problem.
Yes, so
he's the guy that's controlling all the world because he has the lasso of lies, and
He's Trump.
he's on a throne,
he's a
so
lot
he's
of different
regal,
things.
but he's also like the president, and he's got like Masonic symbols on him.
Yeah, they've manipulated the past.
He uses himself in the third person.
He looks like the
So
vulture.
He's got he uses himself in the third person in the royal way, so he's got no leverage to talk down to people on the alphabet community who use their pronouns. Okay.
Yeah.
No, he is. I remember
He forced a
very
Marine to murder himself.
Yeah.
By
Then he
making
killed
him
another
mad
man.
that a girl beat him.
that was one of the worst issues.
Again, another trying to get real over the top with emotion type deal, and it's just always.
Yeah, and I think what Tom King is trying to say is Wonder Woman is about love and empathy and compassion. But the Sovereign, he's evil, so he's about hate and anger and meanness, and it's like, oh my gosh,
misinformation.
Misinformation.
Yes.
And it's very elementary while it's told in a pretentious way. So it's like, okay, we get it.
So
Blake says, who's ready for some Ryan North Dr. Doom? I was a little surprised by this one because I'm actually looking forward to this, Nandor, to a great degree. This, Dr. Doom Sorcerer Supreme thing.
Yeah.
We got the series and like an event coming up, and I was like, Ryan North? Like, I know he's doing Fantastic Four, but
right.
I thought it was strange.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting, and I don't know if they're just doing this because of what the MCU is headed towards, probably, but making Dr. Doom a more, forefront villain and character. And it seems like this event, from what I've heard, is going to be, similar to the Dark Reign event that happened, years ago in terms of the impact of the line of what Doctor Doom's going to be able to do. And I think honestly, him, taking on the Sorcerer Supreme moniker, that's pretty cool. I like that, and I like how they're going for that. So I'm ready. I feel like Doctor Doom hasn't been a part of the Marvel universe enough, and pulling the strings and being the big bad. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. I haven't been keeping up with Ryan North's Fantastic Four, but it sounds like people kind of like it. I don't know, but it kind of depends. So I think we have something to look forward to there. But yeah, I think it'll be pretty cool.
One thing, Nandor, if you are interested, like if you did decide, hey, I'd like to get into that fantasy, you could just jump in any issue. You don't have to more like one
done,
shot,
right?
2 shots. Yeah, that's so. If you really were interested, you could pick up a random issue and check it out, and you'd be pretty good with knowing, what's going on and stuff.
Cool.
But everything's got a comical, humorous edge to it, which I don't think really works for Doctor Doom as Sorcerer Supreme. Like that should be like one of the biggest threats of all time. No.
Well, and are they kind of establishing that with the Spider-Man story that they're going to be doing too?
Yeah, he's going to be
Dr. Doom. Yeah,
his apprentice or lackey, I guess, something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Retro Bad. What percentage chance that Wonder Woman gets a girlfriend after this? Because every Amazon besides the Wonder Girls and Artemis are completely gay now.
I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, I don't
That's going to happen in Absolute Wonder Woman. I totally think. I'm making that call from these cheap seats up here. Yeah, that's Absolute Wonder Woman. Totally. But
I mean, you're on an island with no dudes. Eventually, you're going to have to do something.
I have many questions about this, none of which I could ask on YouTube.
Why not?
But they already made what's her face? They've already made plenty of the major female Wonder Woman characters that are adjacent to her lesbian already.
I just want to know if that's the only thing they made out of sand and clay.
Jeez, Doc, he's such a bad guy. I'll put it at 35%, less than 50. I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
I'm kind of surprised it hasn't happened. But.
Well, it's
Steve Trevor's twin brother is going to show up, Bruce Trevor.
Reeve Trevor.
Mr. DC Comics, Wonder Woman having a kid with Steve Trevor for the first time should have been an event for DC a long time ago. Instead, she gets a million sidekicks.
Sure. You know what? I've been reading this book since issue 1. I read it pirated. I don't buy it. And like I said, I like the Sam Pierre art. I'm not a Tom King fan, so I don't have an expectation of good out of this. And but I kind of presumed Diana and Steve were a couple, but they were kind of like distant. As in, I thought that was kind of made evident in the battleground scene where Steve's got to be on the army side while they're going to be fighting Diana, and he's begrudgingly having to fight his girlfriend in a way. So I had an assumed notion that Steve and Diana were a couple,
I think
basically together.
Here's the thing. I think that what they ended up, a lot of the writers got this opinion, for the past bunch of years that Steve Trevor, she doesn't need a man. And so it was like Steve Trevor, he was always there and a buddy and, hey, we're friends and stuff like that. But I mean, they even had in that Clunrad deal, you had Siegfried, this Ziggy character that he started kind of being sexy with Wonder Woman. And then at the end, you kind of got the idea that him and Steve Trevor were hooking up. Very odd. But yeah, he was kind of just on the side. And he was seemed confused of their relationship, where Diana was just kind of we're just kind of friends. And it just, I don't know. And I think that to get this moment, Tom King had to kind of force the thing going in this. But
I think it's very clear that it's kind of a reverse Superman situation. Or
I like
his human tadpoles couldn't breach her Amazonian uterus.
I smell it. Here comes a mole rat.
It might be radioactive sperm. We'll have to ask Carrie Andrews if that's the case.
You need a kryptonite condom, but that would kill him, of course.
Yeah. Well, that's why she dated Superman in the New 52. Like they could just go at it.
Federico de la Costa Mystique is more from the garbage bin than from the ashes.
Did we really
Yeah.
expect anything else?
That's
No.
why I didn't read. I can't confirm that. I haven't read the book.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
this
might-
was a bad
you could
week
skip it.
because I did read X-Men, or I'm sorry, Uncanny X-Men, which was I can't take Gail Simone doing fucking
Cage
Rogue's
Fest.
voice ever again. It's just it's too many sugars and does for me. And then obviously
Aw.
Wolverine.
Hey, sugar.
I liked your Gambit. I like
Yeah,
Remy in this
I
issue.
did.
He was fun.
Half the time, Gail Simone, it sounds like a slow person like trying to give you a recipe. Like, sugar. That's all she likes, sugar.
The dialogue is not great.
No.
Jose to B says DC announced Jeremy Adams and John Timms on Aquaman. I'll check that out. John Ridley and Ryan Parrott on Justice League Atom Project. What do you guys think?
That will fail completely.
I
Exactly.
like
That is
Ryan Parrott, and I'm waiting for him to get his break. But why are you teaming him up with John Ridley?
to
Yeah,
try to
that-
make John Ridley competent.
I mean, when you go down the line, you're like, okay, this is a book with Captain Atom. It's not going to sell right there. And then you put John Ridley on it, it's done. It's not going to sell. It might be decent enough, but it's not going to sell.
Yeah, I
wouldn't
almost
mind
feel
another
like-
Hawkman series, it didn't
Yeah.
sell well.
Yeah.
But it was
I
still
almost
good.
feel like just Ryan Parrott would help sell that book if
Yes.
it was just him. Yeah, just him.
If it was just him, I would be kind of excited for it. But then I
Yeah.
see John Ridley, I'm like, that doesn't even make
But
sense.
again, if say
A weird pairing.
if
yeah.
you had Ryan Parrott on a Hawkman book, maybe that would be pretty decent. Or just a bigger. These characters aren't really characters that anybody's going to really buy, I don't think. And then
Yeah.
John Ridley.
Well, and
And
you got
right,
the
yeah.
Challengers of the Unknown coming out, and we've got like a Metamorpho book. Like they're really doing.
They
some
got
weird
Metal Men
projects.
coming too again.
Yeah, a lot of the books when you do scratch your head of are you trying to sell books or you just I don't get it because again now we get an Aquaman book finally, but at one point that's all I
definitely
kept
reading
thinking
that
of
one.
like you're having this but you don't have an Aquaman book and that was odd. So at least we have
Well, and they
that.
didn't have a Justice League book.
Yeah, even that. And then when you go down the line, there's a lot of characters that I would pick before Captain Atom and the other characters in that book.
Well, and he's being destroyed by Tom King right now and Jenny Sparks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but she also destroyed him in his Batman run. You had
That's-
Gotham Girl just treat him like a bitch, and
Kicking
you
him
know,
right in the balls to the moon.
yeah,
And
I-
next
I
time we
don't
saw
know
him,
what
he was
it
in the
is.
hospital.
maybe
Like with
Captain
PTSD.
Adam looks like Tom King's dad or something. He just has
Maybe.
something out for him. I don't know because boy, he doesn't treat him well.
But Mike Perkins is on that book, so that's got a pretty good artist that I happen to like a lot. I prefer him on some sci-fi type stuff, but I think that should suit him well. But certainly the big thing I'm excited about is the Jeremy Adams, John Timms stuff. That's going to be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So you discovered Jeremy Adams, Nandor? Did you discover him on the Green Lantern, or did you get to his Flash before that?
His Flash, and didn't he wasn't he co-writing with Jeff
Flashpoint
Johns
Beyond.
on the
Flashpoint,
Flashpoint
yeah.
Paradox
Yep.
or yeah.
Supposedly, I heard that was mostly his story too.
Really?
in
Really?
the back end of it, that it was a lot of his ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I haven't been keeping up with Green Lantern, but I keep seeing people talk about it, and it seems like it's one of the best books that DC's putting out right now. And I heard he really, redeemed Wally West in a way that hadn't been seen before in the Flash book. So I'm hearing all good things about him. I've watched some interviews that he's done on other shows. So
He's a complete dork.
yeah,
Yeah.
He's like that funny little dork guy.
Yeah,
I
he
like
is. And I think he was on when Mark Miller had that roundtable of other writers. He was a part of that, and that was a really good conversation. But so yeah, when I saw this, it made so much sense to me. I was like, this is one of those writers that you're like, yeah, like why wouldn't you have him on a character like Aquaman? So
And John Timms on art. It's going to look great.
yeah,
he's really
it
good too,
looks
so.
really good so far.
Have you gotten to check out his Flash Gordon? We're only 3 issues in.
I read the Free Comic Book Day issue and issue 1. So I haven't caught up with issues 2 or 3, but I like them.
3's a cracker, I can tell you that. It was
Cool.
very, very good. MVP, you agree with that one? You enjoying Flash Gordon?
I haven't actually been reading that one. I know that it came out this
What's wrong
week.
with you?
I know. I don't know the character well enough, but yeah. I also tried reading Space Ghost because that was another one that was like coming out that was kind of, a
like
little
that.
random. I have started enjoying that, but I refuse to believe that what's his name? Pepos is writing it. So I can't
Do
believe
you think
that,
like his little sister's really writing it? He's like, I'm sorry, you're never gonna get a break. Let me put my name on it.
I have a feeling he's got a ghostwriter or something, but I still love that story with Perch and it's just too funny. So, but yeah, no, I mean, Space Ghost is good. The other one that I read this week was Prairie Gods, and Prairie Gods was fantastic. Shane Connery Volk. If you guys didn't read the Nottingham series from Mad Cave, that was almost a perfect series. I mean, it was so well done, and the Shane Connery Volk art is exquisite. So he now has his own creator-owned series, and that's what I've been reading. But unfortunately, I didn't get to Flash Gordon this week.
Well, you should fix yourself, as we would say in the military.
I need the knife hand too. Yeah,
you need to fix yourself, get you into some Flash Gordon, and catch up on this Jeremy Adams goodness, because we should be getting a lot more of them than what we are. Jim, it feels like he should be on at least 3 or 4 books. How is he only on 2, and now it's finally getting a 3rd?
I know. Yeah, he should be on a ton more. One of the things, again, when I was talking to him, when Flash was over, he was real worried that he didn't have a lot of fans. And I told him, I mean, he does. And he eventually, I think he'll start doing some creator.
You mean Jeremy doesn't have fans, or Flash doesn't have fans?
Oh, Flash. I was talking more of Jeremy. You mean Flash Gordon, the deal? Or I don't know. People, that's just an old deal. I don't know. Flash Gordon's good, though. I didn't know what you were saying. I wasn't paying attention.
I didn't know what you were saying. I was like, he said he was worried didn't have any fans. I was like, was he worried that Flash Gordon didn't have fans?
No. He just was taking that. He was glad. No, Flash Gordon, people should read it. And that's probably his litmus test of if people will follow him and maybe lead to creator-owned things, to tie back to my nonsense. But yeah, Flash Gordon's one of those. And again, Space Ghost, Johnny Quest. We have a lot of those things that aren't as big to people as, say, Transformers or things, but some of these are really good. At least Flash Gordon's really good. Thundercats sucks.
Yeah.
But, Johnny Quest isn't that great either, but I like Flash.
Sus Gabe loves Johnny Quest.
Yeah. Sus Gabe got the Marvel
book of the
taken
year
away from me. That prick. He actually, and a deal just for you, Wes. He is working on getting those review copies back. He may have gotten them back. He was begging to Marvel for them. So he said that if he does get them back, then I have to make a public apology to him. And I said, I will not. So
why would you apologize to him?
I know he messed it up, and then he's going to fix it. I'm not going to apologize. Yeah, he
should give him an attaboy or a good
he
job.
thinks that I was being too harsh on him, I think. But
well, maybe. Jimmy, you're kind of an a-hole.
Well, Ward, you were too hard on the beaver last night.
So, yeah, I'm excited to get back into some Aquaman. Where are you hoping that he goes with Aquaman, Sully? What's your ideal Aquaman situation with Jeremy Adams on the book?
Bring back a happy Arthur. I want Mara. I want baby Arthur Jr. alive. No Black Manta killing him this time. All right. Maybe even keep the other Aquaman, give him some, hook him up with Tempest and let him go swim somewhere else. But give me some classic, Aquaman stories. Jeff Johns did a really good job when he was on. Yeah, I think so.
One of probably the best series in New 52, other than maybe Green Lantern.
Yeah, and didn't Kelly Sue DeConnick ruin it? Was that the thing?
So she took over Dan Abnett after Rebirth, and Dan Abnett's Aquaman is actually really, really good too.
It is,
yeah. So there's there's Jeremy Adams is going to smash this out of the park. I got faith in him. He does really good with what I'll call the Super Friends characters. I mean, if you watch him on YouTube or see him on on X, Twitter. In his background, he's got all those old Hasbro, but the Superpowers collection. He's super big into that.
Big Superpowers fan.
Populate his background so that this is his wheelhouse. This is where his strength is, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, you guys turned me on to Jeremy Adams. They were like, 2 years ago, you were like, Sully, you're not reading Flash? You would like this. And I'm like, you are right. Yeah, me of all people. And I love him. I met him.
He also had that other Flash book that he did with Diego, the Golden Age Flash, Jay Garrick.
Ooh, that's right.
That was fantastic.
Yeah. And I met him at Wicked Boston Comic Con a couple of months ago.
Oh, cool.
Was he a real asshole in life?
Wicked, dude. He was
total jerk.
Oh my God. Dan Slott. I had to ask Dan Slott for a hug. And I was like, you got to block on Twitter, man, but I could really use a spider hug right now. No, he was the nicest guy. He remembered. He was like, hey, you're Eric from the Twitter. Hi, man. And I saw him all 3 days, went over to him. He was sitting next to Peter J. Tomasi, which was great.
Oh,
you
man.
know,
That's
because
cool.
like, yeah, Tim Sheridan was like on the other table with Dan Slott. It's like blocked row. It's like all
cool kids and
all
like...
these creators who got me blocked. And then at the end of the table is Silvestri. He had the longest line. But oh gosh, he's approachable. He's a nice guy. And he does a good job. He's gonna do really good on this. I'm looking forward to this. I'll get the foil copy of issue number 1.
Isn't Aquaman going to be fighting some kaijus, right? Isn't that what the...
I could do Aquaman fighting kaijus.
I think that was in the summary. Yeah.
He's got a Wada sword. I mean,
I know. I was like, whoa.
That's like, look at that.
He just needs the hook hand back, right?
Yeah, no, he needs 2 hands. Let's roll that back. That's like angry Aquaman. I want a happy Aquaman. You know, king of the 7 seas. Riding a giant seahorse.
Are we? I haven't seen the concept design for this new Aquaman, but are we going back to like the Jason Momoa? Or are we going to like the Arthur?
He's
like,
Arthur
Curry with long blonde hair,
with blonde and a beard.
Yeah. Okay.
Both hands.
He has new powers.
Orange.
I think that he got Maris powers after Absolute Power, like those switcheroo powers. They didn't really delve much into it. Seems like they're going to be working on some of that as well.
So he's going to be a real nutbuster now. He stole that from Mira.
Sassy
the shit out of everybody.
He's the sassy Aquaman. Watch out!
Take the spaghetti back. It does not meet my needs.
This is not cooked well enough.
Aqua Karen.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
sassy.
I really hope Jeremy Adams, and this is something that I want to see more in Aquaman books and stories. It's like you can keep him underwater, right? Like just have him explore different kingdoms, different parts of the ocean, different creatures. I mean, there's so much there that I feel like has been untapped potential for his character. And yeah, I mean, he can really go places with this. I'm glad it's an ongoing. We know it's going to be an ongoing. So I encourage everyone when it hits in January, support it because it's going to be really good.
So the Night Stalker says they should go cosmic with Aquaman, and if you're interested in that, in the Aquaman Future State series, which I believe is only 2 issues, Aquaman's daughter and Jackson Hyde accidentally swim through the 7 seas of the cosmos and end up on another planet marooned.
Oh yeah,
it's actually kind of cool.
Oh wow,
I do like that concept, Nandor, because like when you think about the ocean, it is we know less about the ocean than we do about like space. You know what I mean? Like so when you think about all the like incredible like myths or stories or like unsolved mysteries that have gone on underneath the ocean, all the different creatures that are there, like they have a plethora of a cavalcade of ideas that you could potentially pull from, whether in their own minds or something that may be like a non-fiction or whatnot. But just like there's so much untapped potential, like you said, and I hope that they play into that. Just keep them underwater. Why not?
Yeah,
there's so
keep
much
them
cool
underwater.
Yeah.
I want to see Aquaman leading the Atlantean industrial complex, kidnapping all the baby seals he can get his hands on, putting out baby sealskin socks and stuff like that.
Oh, thank you. I want an Aquaman like
hanging out on Garbage Island.
Taking out all the oil companies.
Yeah. Remember Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon? And Aquaman was kind of like just a boy. He was like a bragging, almost a douchebag, but he was just like really funny about it. He was voiced by John DiMaggio, who did Bender on Futurama, and it's just what a wonderful character that Aquaman on Dietrich Bader's Batman Brave and the Bold. That's the kind of Aquaman I'd like to see.
He's getting the McDLT in the original packaging and just throwing it in the ocean. Be great.
Man.
Just all that.
Someone
shit.
said Aquaman is the perfect antidote for Nandor's jerkiness. Have you been a jerk, Nandor?
What? Maybe. You guys will have to
I think he might have meant Namor.
set me straight.
Oh, no, you're right. It was Namor. My bad. It's
Namor.
Namor.
Namor. Oh, okay.
Namor.
It's Namor. Very good.
Yes.
That was fun. Let's talk about some Wonder Woman. Well, I guess before that, Dion says about your last video. I lost my father when I was 5 in an accident, and I'm being honest. Only Batman Inc. Took my sanity because of how shit it is. That's
Sorry
very
for your
sad,
loss,
man.
man.
I'm sorry to hear that. And yeah, it's just like that stupid take where, you know, Martha should have been so much more important than Thomas Wayne. It was like Thomas and Martha are as important as they need to be to Batman.
Yeah.
You know, they focus more on his father because his father's mission was to save Gotham, and Bruce is essentially taken up on that mission, but doing it in his own way, kind of thing. So, but sorry to hear about that, brother. That's very, very sad. Should we get into the best Wonder Woman stories of all time?
Why
We
not?
talked about the character. She was the main subject here. We should probably talk about some great Wonder Woman if you want to skip out on the Tom King. Although I will freely admit, Nandor says he loves Tom King's Wonder Woman. And it's probably going to be the winner here.
Yeah, my favorite Wonder Woman story, Tom King's Wonder. No,
Every issue.
Every issue. No, I haven't read much, but from what I have read, and of course, this is I think everyone's kind of go-to. But if you're going to start out with the character, read George Perez's Wonder Woman, and start there. It's the reinvention of the character for that time. And Perez's work is amazing, and he worked with a lot of different great people on it. So that's my pick for sure.
Should be everybody's pick. George Perez is the greatest.
Yeah.
Sully, you seem like a George Perez Wonder Woman guy. You second in that motion? You like that series?
I was never a big reader of it. I looked at it a lot because George Perez will give you an eyeful. I will suggest though, I Wonder Woman Earth 1 by Grant Morrison and Yannick Paquette. This I just turned on to this recently in the compact style too, $10 and $10 well spent. It really celebrates the whole Golden Age Wonder Woman. Golden Age Wonder Woman's fascinating. It really is. That was a really subversive character. Very empowering too. Everything that we kind of, think is cliche and cringy these days. Well, back then it was unique. And there was nothing else in the world like original Wonder Woman written by her original team up until 1948. And then also I'm going to include not just like Justice League Unlimited, Susan Eisenberg's Wonder Woman. That was a wonderful, wonderful Wonder Woman. But the New 52, Azzarello and Chiang, that was really hardcore. Like, how do Amazons reproduce? It's kind of simple and it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
And I really
people did not like that.
Exactly.
A lot of problems. Yeah.
That was really problematic for some reason. And I'm like, I like that story. That's really hardcore. And the whole like Zeus impregnating a girl to hide out. You know what I mean? That was really interesting too. But yeah, I mean the Azzarello Chang New 52 Wonder Woman, that's a highlight of the New 52. That's my big vote. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Superman versus Wonder Woman, Jerry Conway, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, in a very fantastic team up book where you have two different opposing ideas on how to celebrate America. And of course they end up coming together at the end, but they certainly do fight. It's a lot of fun. Nice. Looks fantastic. Magazine Science, I believe, when it first came out.
Ooh.
All right, MVP, what's your Wonder Woman story you're going to?
So this actually comes from our good friend, the channel, Joe Corallo. Joe had mentioned a couple of Wonder Woman books for me to check out. And since then, I've just been, I loved the series, but the entire run of the Will Mesner-Loeb's Wonder Woman stuff with the Brian Bolland covers is just beautiful. So if you guys want to start, like have a starting point, issue 66 of the 1987 Wonder Woman series starts with part 1 of a 6-part exodus into space, where Wonder Woman goes to save this other woman who has been stranded on a spacecraft and ends up getting captured by this alien race and enslaved on a planet. And then you have to figure out how she gets off. But one of the things that I find really interesting about the Will Mesner-Loeb's run is just that I feel like with a lot of writers, they feel like in order to promote Wonder Woman, or in order to strengthen her or bolster her up, they have to kind of tear down her like male counterparts. And they feel like, oh, well, if Wonder Woman needs to be a strong woman, she needs to beat up a bunch of like, misogynistic men, or just like, men suck, and it never felt like that was the case with Will Mesner-Loeb's series. It always just felt like Wonder Woman had her own strength that could suffice on its own, and she didn't need to tear other men down. And it was never a gender thing. It was just always she's a goddess thing, and she fights for those who can't fight for themselves, right? And that was kind of the super heroic framework. So that's how I really like to read those Wonder Woman stories, is that she can kind of exist on her own and not have to like tear down all these other characters. So I would definitely say check out issue 66 onward from the Will Mesner-Loeb series, and you guys won't be disappointed.
Very good call. Doc, do you have a personal favorite Wonder Woman?
I actually don't. So
Jeez, he's such a misogynist. You were the patriarchy that we're fighting against, Doc.
Maybe
Wonder
you
Woman?
are. Yep.
Oh my goodness. You didn't even like the Grant Morrison Justice League has got a lot of Wonder Woman in there.
Linda Carter?
Linda Carter Wonder Woman.
There you go. Yeah.
Look, I'm just not. I have never read Wonder Woman for more than an issue here or there.
Did you like the movie?
I've never been taken in. The first movie was all right.
Boom,
I liked it better. I liked it better when it was Captain America first Avenger, because it's literally the exact same movie.
Basically the same movie. Yeah.
So
Captain America, and I don't like the first Avenger movie all that much. It has a better ending than the Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah. Wonder Woman was just Captain America First Avenger, the same way that Black Panther was just Thor again. The exact same movies, exact same plot beats. So no, I mean, it's really
Real Steel is just over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Fast and the Furious is Point Break.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Point Break is so much better than Fast and Furious.
Damn right.
Yeah. Jim, do you have a favorite Wonder Woman story?
Yeah. Mine's kind of a hidden gem. It's more recent. I mean,
Clune Red?
Everything. No, it's The Legend of Wonder Woman. It was a digital first by Renee DeLise and Ray Dillon. It's really good. It ended up being canceled because there was some like fights in the background because DC kind of screwed the creators over a bit. But it ends up, it's a digital first. They did collect it and then they had a hardcover. It's really good. It ends up, telling the story of Diana as a little girl, and then gets to the point where she goes to man's world and uses a lot of, the history and things, and kind of tells it in a really cool way. It's a really, really good, like all ages book too. And it looks fantastic. It's on the app. If people, check it out. It's something that I don't hear talked about a lot. But when it was coming out, it was one of those books. I was getting the DC review copies, but they wouldn't send the digital first. I was one of the only series at that point that I was actually buying to review. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And it was a shame it ended up getting canceled because of that one Odyssey of the Amazons book by that Kevin. What was it? I always pronounce his name wrong. That was on the show.
Grievous?
Yeah, Grievous. That I liked Common Sense at that point threw me under the bus to say that I didn't like that series. So I want to thank him again, once again, the prick. But you end up with all this going on. It's a really good series. You like that, Wes? I see. I just, he threw me under the bus like a jerk. But in the meantime, it's, I think it's really good. People should check it out.
Jim, I don't appreciate you promoting comic books written by women. as if they're capable.
And written and art by. So yes.
Oh yeah, exactly.
How dare I?
How dare you?
I mean,
do
here's the
something
deal.
like
That common sense will figure out a way to throw me under the bus about that somehow.
that. All good suggestions. Love talking about our favorite stories here at the end. Dion says, this was aimed at you, Sully. Wasn't
Okay.
Wonder Woman Earth 1 that comic that race swapped Steve into black? And isn't that the comic in which she's a dominatrix? Really weird stuff, bro.
Yes, there's a really interesting note because it does celebrate the golden age of Wonder Woman, which was really subversive for its day in 1940, 1941, written by a Harvard professor who had a legal wife and a live-in girlfriend, but they had a non-traditional relationship. It's
called polygamy.
Yes.
Don't use your newfangled spink. Polygamy.
But
set up house. It's the homeless.
Like William Moulton Marston, he invented the polygraph machine and a couple of like different psychological ideas too. He was a professor of psychology. And so this whole thing of the play between dominant and submissives in any typical relationship, someone leads and someone follows when you're dancing, you know, so take that notion and blow it up a bit. So you have the whole Themyscira notion of dominant and submission. So you have to submit yourself to your partner. So Diana and her culturally busts out the bondage kit with Steve and be like, okay, it's time, you know, and he's like, hell no, woman, I ain't putting that on.
Ride you like
It's
a
like,
horse.
you know, no, it was an interesting play on like on slavery and also the whole, you know, golden age Wonder Woman psych stuff of, you know, the whole bondage stuff, you know, that we giggle about when we mention golden age Wonder Woman, you know. So yeah, that's
Very
definitely
nice.
there.
Nandor, now that he's opened up Pandora's box, are you the leader or the follower? I know you're married as well, right?
No, I'm not married, but
Oh, I thought you were. Why bad?
no, that's okay. No, I do have a girlfriend, but you know, I'm you know, what I don't know what you want
He
me to
doesn't
say.
want to talk about it, Sully. I'm making him uncomfortable.
Yeah, like
Look at his
what am I
face. He
supposed
turned
to
right
say?
red.
You know,
Point
like
to
yeah,
the-
I think
Point
the
to the
leader,
doll
bro.
where he touched you.
I think it's important to communicate. I'll say
Absolutely.
that.
Safe words are the key to a healthy relationship. Isn't that right, MVP? A follower if I've ever seen one.
I wouldn't know. I'm here in California, so women don't date me. So I'm yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
You're passed
I'm
over.
sorry.
That's you are living
Yeah.
proof that women have lost their minds. Man.
Man,
You're all
Sully's
right.
like, if I was in California, I'd give you a role.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
No,
I'd
I
be your
mean,
wingman.
I appreciate
No.
it. No, I mean, I joke, but you know, obviously, any good man or woman who is single has to look inwards and go like, you know, what can I get? What can I do to better myself? What can I do to prepare for a marriage and get like, I'm, you know, right now I'm just getting ready for hopefully starting a family in the future, and I'd love whoever I get to do that with, you know, will be a blessing. So I'm excited about that. But until then, I got to work on myself and do some good stuff, you know. Some
This is
inner
what you
work
need to
until
do,
then.
MVP, to get
Yeah.
ready for marriage. Just start apologizing for shit you didn't do,
Ooh,
Get
that's
used to
good.
it.
I like that.
and that will get you through the rough days.
Thank
Just
you.
say, yeah, that was my fault. It's
Yeah.
my fault that
Yeah,
you
I'm-
hit a
I'm
fucking
sorry.
deer. I totally
Like, you know
did
what,
that.
you're
Jim,
right.
what do
No,
you
I
have?
wasn't in the car.
I should have been driving. Yep. It's my fault.
Jim knows what I'm talking about.
You and Jim should start
Yeah.
a podcast on marriage tips.
Yeah.
Jim and I were going to start a
Love
podcast
and
on
married.
the NFL, but it didn't work out this season. We're going to do it
Wow.
next year. Next up, we got Eddie Brock 9043. Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man is getting slow and boring now, in my opinion.
I warn people.
Agree.
I warn
Yeah.
people,
I'm so
and
bored.
nobody listens.
I
This last
still don't
issue was a rough
understand
one.
that League of Comic Geeks has that still like a 99%, you know, like it's
People don't
The-
ever want to admit something that they love isn't as good at one point. It's just
People
weird.
really don't want to admit that Hickman is overrated.
Mhm. It's not terrible.
last
It's just
issue-
written for the trade, and it's like this is not a
Yeah.
good floppy.
What
This is
trade?
just a slice of a huge story. That it's just no. This is, I like floppies.
just-
I like you know.
it's just not a Spider-Man book. It
And
just
and
doesn't
it's
feel like a
yeah,
Spider-Man.
it seems to be meandering to get till the time the maker comes back, but I kind of not looking forward to that. So I want something in the here and now. And the idea of, oh my God, it's better than Zeb Wells. Well, you know, that's a low bar right there. But the other thing was, hey, we're getting what we always wanted, but we barely get that as well now. And so it's kind of just an odd book. I think the whole Ultimate stuff is kind of, you know, not great right now.
Yeah, I get more anticipation for this, for the Absolute stuff right now than the Ultimate stuff.
Dion says that absolutely sounds like Morrison's Kinks.
Potentially.
He's a strange guy.
He's an interesting person.
Yeah.
And possibly Sully. Sully, was there a lot of feet in that book, Sully? Is that why you feel like
that's why Sully was into it? He's like, look at the onomatopoeia feet.
The onomatopoeia feet,
say no.
and he is in.
Wow, look at those well-drawn toes.
No, if Sully would have been into that, he would have gotten the full-sized, you know, comic edition, you know.
Artist edition.
Yeah.
Dion says, was it Mark Waid the guy who hates Trump because he's a racist? Fun fact, Mark Waid used many racist stereotypes in his Batman versus Robin shit book. I'm assuming that's the one that came out this week. It was Mark Waid, so I didn't read it. Did anyone read Batman versus Robin?
Yeah, it wasn't that. That's Batman and Robin year one. I think he's talking about something else because that
you're right. There was a Batman versus Robin.
Yeah, Batman and Robin year one was great. So take that.
Yeah, it was,
again. Here's the thing. Again, I said it before, and I know that people, especially listening or watching, hate Mark Waid because what he said or whatever. But who the hell was surprised at what he said? He says the same thing all the time, and yet people were willing to like, well, that World's Finest is pretty good. I'll read it. And now all of a sudden it's like, no, I won't. I just don't get it. He's been
the same. A line to say it, Jim.
Yeah, but the line of Sam was always there. The line of Sam was there 10 years ago. He's never changed. Yeah, exactly. But everybody say, oh, well, you know, he hasn't really
try to be forgiving,
lately.
Jim.
Right.
Everyone always says
the thing is, this is the problem is there's a lot of shit ass writers that just can't write that I'd rather, you know, give up on or whatnot. I could give a rat's ass what he says. I read the comic. Most of the people are worse off. They just are smart enough not to say it. But again, I just don't get the deal. It's just me. I know what he's like, and I don't like the guy, and I wouldn't shake his hand, but fuck it. I don't care. It's not enough good books game? Around. What's that?
I wouldn't give him a good game. No. You say, hey, Mark.
No, and if we were walking down, like, if you could take like what he's,
Robin year one.
If he was saying that shit talk and we were playing hockey or something like that, I might punch him in the line afterwards. But again,
forearm shiver.
Yeah, maybe I don't have a lot of lines in the sand. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, and he's talking about the book from 2021. I remember now that the Batman versus Robin book. Very good. This is a fun show. I think we all had a good time. It's time to talk about our favorite comic books with some recommendations. We'll throw it first to Nandor, which means unwanted child in Gaelic, I believe. And you have Manchild #3 on Kickstarter right now.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we got Manchild issue 3, and we got about 10 or 11 days left. So it's going to end on October 30th, and we're about $1,000 away from funding. So hope you guys will check it out and get yourself a copy. It's the 3rd issue. It's going to be a 6-issue series, and the quick pitch for it is it's a superhero action dramedy that tells 2 stories simultaneously, one taking place in the Silver Age inspired universe following the adventures of the Monarch Crier butterfly character, and then also in the real world with the misadventures of super nerd Rufus Boston. And the mystery of the series is how these 2 stories relate to each other, what their connection is, and it's a commentary on comic book fandom and the contrast between fantasy reality and escapism. So hope you guys will check it out. I for one, also wanted to recommend, I actually am still enjoying Ultimate Spider-Man by Jonathan Hickman. And Ultimate Spider-Man issue 10 came out this week. And I will say, so I open up the issue and I'm like, okay, this is going to be a J. Jonah Jameson, a Ben Parker story. and I was disappointed, right, as I'm starting the issue. However, I really enjoy their dynamic, and I like how Hickman is taking time with them. It's not would I prefer to see Spider-Man beating up bad guys? Yeah, I would, but at the same time, I really feel like what they're doing with the paper, I'm invested in what they're doing, and I like to see how these two characters, who normally, I feel like wouldn't get along at all. I feel like Hickman's writing them very well, and I like the little kind of humorous moment they have with Harry Osborn later in the book, where they're kind of betting on whether or not Harry Osborn would come to try to get their story taken away. And then also, I think the ending of the issue where they use a fake name for the reporter for it being Ben Reilly was a nice little nod too. So, I do think the book has slowed down, but to me, Hickman's dialogue and character moments are still very good and very strong.
Yeah, the only appearance of Spider-Man though is the cover.
Right.
Yeah. So that's my biggest issue. Now, I did mention, Jim, did you watch Problem Child when it came out in the 80s?
Yes, yeah, I've seen that.
I just realized Nandor kind of looks like the kid, but grown up.
A little bit. Yes. That kid. Get a little bow tie on him.
Yes.
A little smart suit. Yeah, you might have it.
Be just
All right,
destroying
John
people.
Better.
Next time I'm here, I'll wear a bow tie. How about that?
Perfect.
That'd be awesome.
Who else you got there? You got
on in the background every time you talk.
who's the comedian? Gilbert Gottfried was in there.
Godfrey was in there. Yeah. Yep, he was there.
Great movie.
Telling you that
who else?
movie when he actually comes out of the orphanage and he's leaving and everybody's cheering, they're like, "Oh my God, he must have been so loved." It was like one of the best comedy moments ever. So good.
Very nice. Sully, you got any books to recommend this week? Uh-oh. Sully's in deep thought.
Oh boy.
We might have totally screwed him over here. We're going to MVP. We'll come back to Sully.
You got it. Doc, is it cool if I praise you for a second?
Yes.
Computer's kind of crashing a bit again. Sorry.
Okay, I think Sully, he's going to restart here. So Doc is the man. He sent me a care package. And so Doc, I just got it before Aaron left for New York Comic Con. But I just got to showcase all of these awesome X-Men books that he sent. These are absolutely gorgeous. And one of the best covers in the game right here. Boom. X-Men issue 207. We've got some Silvestri stuff in here, some Barry Windsor Smith covers, some great issues, and some new and older stuff. But so I've been going through these and reading these. And then in terms of this week's books, check out Prairie Gods. It is a Twilight Zone book mixed with Western, mixed with sci-fi. As Shane Connery Volk has put it, it is Twilight Zone meets Sin City. And it's so you're getting a little bit of both worlds, but I have been loving this series, and Shane Connery Volk is proving to not only be a fantastic writer, a fantastic illustrator, but also a great writer. So yeah, I would highly encourage that. But once again, huge shout out to Doc. I appreciate it, brother. And I didn't get my cigarettes though. So next time you and I will have to get a pack together.
Yep.
And
I'll have to bring them next time.
Yeah.
Did you know that Doc is also the good little baker as well? Did he send you like some cookies or maybe some special brownies?
Some special brownies. Oh, I didn't get any of those, but I would assume that he is
that much.
Yeah, Wes did. Wes got some. It sounds
Dang. Oh my God. Yeah, Wes is all about those special brownies. So, but no, what Doc plays the hard ass on the stream, but inside he's got a heart of gold. So I appreciate it, brother. It was a really cool care package, and I appreciate the
You're welcome, sir. I had a bunch of double duplicates. And I wanted to make sure they went to a deserving friend.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. I'm going to put these bad boys in Mylar, and they'll be perfect for putting in the long box. So I appreciate it.
Very nice. Dion says Deathstroke likes him young.
This is true.
It's very true. It was a little weird when you go back and read the Judas contract and you realize Tara's like 14.
I think she was.
13.
I don't know. She's got to be like 18. She just you look.
She's
young.
not 18. She
was
definitely says
not.
She's not.
I know.
She's like 14 or 15. And when she
Terrible.
comes out, like, yeah, they definitely did it. A little creepy. It's good story stuff. But it certainly makes Deathstroke an even worse person. Dion also says, gayness is built into Batman. I'm not using gay in the pejorative sense, but Batman is very, very gay. There's just no denying it. The basis of the whole concept is utterly gay. Grant Morrison. Is that a real quote, or is he making stuff up here?
I don't know. I'm a big
That's
Grant fan.
Probably a Grant quote.
I guess the idea is that
I mean, that's been the joke that everybody tells.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know.
because I've heard the other thing that Batman was always anti-gay because Joker was flamboyantly gay and Batman wanted to beat him up because of the anti-gayness sentiment of the 40s.
Maybe he's talking about the Schumacher movies, and specifically,
Maybe those
were wicked gay.
Yeah,
Unabashedly gay. Yeah, not saying there's anything wrong with it. You know,
I will say this: if the writers would stop going back to what Grant Morrison did with any character and just started doing something else, comics would be better for it. You know, fucking X-Men are stuck in Grant Morrison. Fucking Batman is stuck in Grant Morrison hell. So many characters are stuck in fucking Grant Morrison hell these days because that's the writer all the writers now like. So.
Yeah.
And finally, can Doc fill Mark Waid and James Tynan up?
With what?
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Cookies?
I mean,
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
like,
Special brownies?
special brown.
I feel like there's a joke here, and I absolutely cannot tell it.
No, I think Doc is going to avoid Mark Waid and James Tynan.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah, that'd be a bad idea.
Oh, that was funny. So you're good, Sully. You got any recommendations now? Did you go to your shop?
What's in the bag? Nothing. I didn't go to my shop this week. I'm literally right now in between
You're getting ready to
comic book
move.
shops. Yeah, I'm getting ready to move. But let me tell you, everyone out there, okay, love and respect your local comic book shop. I do. So I gave him the courtesy of canceling my poll list. And, you know, hello. And sorry about that. And I had my phone just rang on me. So what's in the bag? Nothing. Yeah, I got nothing in the bag, but I did read some comic books this week. Local Man 25 is my pick of the week. And also Green Lantern 16 was amazing. And yeah, it's a pretty light week this week. Batman Full Moon #1 was interesting. It got better by the end. And at the beginning, I'm like, what am I doing here? But yeah, it's a pretty decent werewolf tale. Batman gets pretty beaten up, but that's like part of his charm. He comes back from that, you know. And thanks for having me on again. I'm between local comic book shops. So respect your local comic book shop. Cancel your poll list. Don't leave them hanging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Cancel your poll list. Come on, man. They need these poll list.
But I'm starting up a poll list in my new comic book shop. Where I'm moving to has another comic book shop, New England Comics of Quincy, my second comic book shop in my life. And so, yeah, I'm starting up a poll list there the following week. So my poll list at my old store wraps up this coming week, and they're just going to mail it to me. And
I can't believe Green Lantern wasn't on your pull list.
Green Lantern is on my pull list. I just haven't been by the store to pick it up.
Oh.
So they're going to mail them to me.
You're going to enjoy that one. That was a good book.
That is a good one. And I'm also looking forward to that one shot he's doing with interior art by our friend V. Ken Marion. That got announced at New York Comic Con this weekend. His Fractured Lantern story. I'm kind of all set with like Crayola lanterns at this point.
Fractal lanterns.
Yeah, something like that, right? And but hey, it's Jeremy Adams. He spins a good yarn. He plays with the action figures very well. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Indeed.
Very nice. Dion says Morrison is the same guy who projected his mommy issues on Talia on a Denny O'Neil creation for no reason.
Morrison projects everything onto every character he writes because Grant
But
Morrison
he's better than Tom King.
Yes, he absolutely is. He is a talented narcissist that puts himself into every single thing he writes. But he's talented at it most of the time.
Yeah.
Unless it's Sea Guy, and that's the worst comic in human history.
See, guy. All right, Jim, do you got any comic books to recommend this week?
Yeah. I have Green Lantern. I'll go with everybody on that one. I did like Batman and Robin Year One, Prairie Gods, like MVP said, and also Flash Gordon. Those are my picks.
Very nice. And I heard you have a new record coming out from Sus Records called Fappin' Your Dog.
Fappin' you? No. Maybe now. I sit here, that's a good idea. That might
No,
not be
it's
a
really
great
not a good idea.
No, that one probably won't happen.
No, that's probably called animal abuse.
Yeah.
That was a funny joke in Van Wilder.
It was. There's a couple doggy style, kind of songs there, but besides that, no, not Fappin' the Dog, but I do remember that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's
all right. Last but not least, we do have Doc to recommend some comic books. I know that he read Wolverine #2. We perhaps could get a modern day recommendation today.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. I do, however, recommend that you check out our review of Wolverine #2. Is it going to be out tomorrow?
Be out on Monday with a little bonus coverage of Jim and I's conversation about that comic book as well, because I thought it was funny.
All right. And I think it'll be out on the Patreon
tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning? Okay. All right, then. So you'll be able, if you're a Patreon, you can hear it one day sooner. And without all of the, let's just say, the limitations of the YouTubes. So you're very welcome, MVP, for your care package. It took a lot longer for me to get it to you than I would have liked. But I'm glad you enjoy. I hope you enjoy it. And instead, I'm going to, instead of recommending any new comics, because I am very much more of an old comic book day kind of guy, we will go with, all right, so Baby's First Deadpool book. It's one of the few little like anthology style books that I actually thought was good. It was a fun book. It's older book. It's from the late 90s. Yeah, it's just a one shot. You should find it though. It's kind of hard to find, oddly enough. But yeah, they did this one, and then they did the Encyclopedia Deadpoolica that was also kind of a one shot. So we'll go with recommending this. Then, since we were a mostly DC stream today, I will talk about one of my, I don't generally read a lot of DC on a regular basis, but periodically I used to pick up DC books at little times. And there was a 3-issue crossover across Action Comics, Adventures of Superman, and Superman that was A World Without Superman and A World with Majestic, where they kind of get swapped into each other's universes. And it's really cool. It's, Eradicator in it, and, Majestic being fucking Majestic, and like being not Superman, but everybody still thinks he's Superman, but he just got a new costume. And him trying to kind of live up to, he like doesn't understand even who the hell Superman is and the archetype he's supposed to be living up to. And it's really good. So 3 issues. I don't remember what issue this is. It's Adventures of Superman number 624. But there's 3 issues crossover on this. Then we will go with a little key for everybody if you want to go and try to find it. Avengers Annual number 10. This is the first appearance of Rogue. Oddly enough, happens in an Avengers book. But no, good comic, good first appearance. Does everybody remember when Rogue was first introduced and she was actually kind of ugly? Like she was kind of an ugly chick. And then as soon as she became an X-Man, she started getting hotter and hotter and hotter.
Oh, that's what our Adams will do to you.
I know, right? But yeah, like Alan, or no, oh God,
Michael Golden
Fuck.
does this issue.
Michael Gold, yeah. But no, I'm trying to think of it's not Alan Davis. I don't remember who the artist on X-Men at the time was. But regardless, great issue. It's a relatively minor key, but it's a nice book to have in your collection. And then we will go with Avengers 195. The first cameo of Taskmaster. The next issue is that cover, that famous, iconic cover with Taskmaster on the, with Taskmaster right front and center with his first full appearance. But this is the cameo issue. So I recommend, you could find this relatively cheap. Probably about 15, 20 bucks in decent shape. So go try to find one of those too. And those are my recommendations for this week. It's just old comic week, like usual.
Doc, I had that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Wes.
And Dion says Doc should take over the channel.
He does.
Doc
is right.
Do.
Hashtag Doc is right.
He does,
Doc, I had that
filibuster.
Avengers. I had that Avengers first appearance of Rogue issue signed by Michael Golden and or was it Michael Golden? I'm trying to think who it was, but he charged me $40 for a signature. That was like nothing. I was like, oh no, yeah. But it's a good issue.
Peach Momoko ain't charging nothing, right?
Oh God, is she not charging anything?
I don't know.
When fights happen, she doesn't charge. No, that's why they end up with the fights.
Yeah.
Yep.
So once again, the Nandor curses happen. Missouri's quarterback is out. It looks like he's probably out for the season. But they are at least winning right now. But Brady Cook is gone under. He's out the game. Drew Pine is in. So what were we thinking, Nandor or Nandor?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm still jinxing this.
Yeah,
by coming on.
Totally your fault.
It's like I should, if I want Mizzou to win, I better stop coming on here. But yeah, hopefully he's okay.
Also, finally, Dion says Morrison stole Detective Comics Annual 4 1991 plot, never credited it ever, and lied about misremembering the rape. There was never one. Filthy liar.
About Talia's encounter with Bruce to procreate little Damien.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get the impression some people don't like Grant Morrison.
Tom King ripped off an Action Comics issue. So.
Well, Tom King actually ripped off True Grit.
Well, he did that too for all series.
Yeah.
The Super Friends story where Wonder Woman and Batman are in that other dimension was just straight up ripped off of an Action Comics one where it was Superman and Wonder Woman. Yeah, exactly.
And Kalichioki says, "Cool shirt, Wes. Wear more video game shirts." This was a shirt that my wife and I got matching ones because our son's birthday party was a Sonic and Mario themed birthday party a couple of years ago, and it still looks good on me. But I should get more video game shirts. Thank you very much to everybody. Really appreciate it. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. If you're in New York Comic Con, say hello to some friends. If you're not, enjoy the football season, enjoy the weather, all that kind of stuff. We are headed towards the holidays. Oh, there we go. Is it going to happen? There we go. A little confetti. And everyone have a good day. I'm out of here.